Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to ReelTok episode 88. Big episode today. Nice little A24 special. I am sat alongside my gorgeous host from Indiana, Mr. Cam, my beautiful host from Arizona, Mr. Tyler, and way across the pond, the devilishly handsome Mr. Seth's Film Reviews.
Why not got a location as well? Like a city or something?
I said across the pond.
Yeah, but they got individual places.
All right, the Sheffield King,
there we go.
Seth's Film Reviews. Got a fun episode for you guys today. We're going to talk I Saw the TV Glow. I'll give really quick thoughts on If, since I believe I was the only one that watched it. And then Tyler and I and whoever else wants to discuss a quick review of Billie Eilish's Hit Me Hard and Soft. Cam's headphones just flew off his head. I don't know if you guys saw that.
I did not. I wasn't looking.
Cam, what just happened?
I don't know. I think I knocked it. It's like I was putting my hand out, and I think I knocked it, and it just dropped completely. So that was crazy. But we're all good now.
All right, fantastic. Shout out our executive producers, Mr. Stefan Johnston, Stefan Niebrick, and Sean Morales. You guys rock. All of our patrons rock. You guys keep us doing what we're doing. You guys, every week we're doing this for you guys. We're doing a patron exclusive real quick this week of Mulholland Drive, which I'm sure Seth is very excited to discuss. And then later down the week, available for everyone, we're doing a fun little draft of our favorite action scenes. So if you haven't hit that subscribe, follow, whatever button, hit it. Stay up to date on everything we're dropping. Gentlemen, how are we doing? Seth, Sheffield, I'll mention that again. How are you? How is your week?
I'm good. Week, not really too much going on, to be fair. I don't think. Pretty like standard work week. Pretty busy. Got Comic-Con next week, which should be cool, I guess. Then I'm going to see Spirited Away the week after, the first stage show in Europe. Very, very excited for that. I've seen some videos of Spirited Away on stage. It looks fucking crazy. So really excited for that. Not really much else. I'll touch on when we go over what we've been watching. I went to see The Strangers, the new one the other day. That'll be fun to speak on.
Getting some poopy reviews.
Yeah, well, I mean, to be fair, like so did like Pray at Night, for example. When I first watched that, I was like, oh, this has got crazy reviews. But I really like it. And then I was going to this one thinking it'd be the same thing. Not the same thing. Absolutely not the same thing.
I thought the best movie of the year.
It's very, very low down. Why? It's very, very low down.
What did you give it?
I'll wait until we watch it.
Fair.
But yeah, pretty standard week for me.
Cam, big boat ride yesterday. Looked very vibey. How are you doing?
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. I'm good. We rented a boat like an hour and a half away from us and drove down to the Bloomington area. So fuck you, IU. Rented a boat for Emma's friend's birthday. She was in town. She lives in Carolina now. So got to see her, which was always good. And then like my parents were watching Bailey and just got a text from them at the PGA Championship in Valhalla. And I was like, what's going on right now? And apparently they asked if they like could take them to the zoo or something. We were like, yeah, of course, do whatever. And then like got a text and they were 2.5 hours away in Louisville, Kentucky at a major golf tournament, which was something else. So that was that. Apparently they had a really fun time and Bailey was super good for them, which is always good. It's sometimes hard to bring a kid to a sporting event, but I think golf is probably the easiest just because you can walk around and everything and go wherever you want. We've taken him to like a football game before and I think a basketball game as well. And it's just hard sometimes. Like he's cooped up in the stands, but a golf tournament definitely can walk around and everything.
They're there today too.
No, they're back. They were back last night at like 8:30. They just went for the day.
As a father, how do you react to that initially? Like, were you upset? Were you like, damn, you're just taking my kid places? Or were you like, oh, thanks.
I mean, like, I trust them. They can take them places. It was more Emma's friends were in town, so just wanted them to get a chance to see Bailey. as well while they were here, and they did. So it all works out.
Someone did
definitely-
unfortunately die on Friday there at the golf
Yeah,
tournament. So,
yeah. I mean, crazy
Wait,
that
what?
happened.
yeah, someone got ran over by a bus. So would be fun for Cam to be like, oh, now you guys are there. But I think that was obviously like a fluke accident, so not something that regularly happens at golf tournaments.
Yeah. Good
And you had a
God.
felon running loose with Scotty Scheffler. Like, it's a scary place to be.
Dude, I was sitting at work whenever this news dropped, Thursday or Friday, and like we have TVs all around our office that play CNBC, like the finance network. Even they were talking about Scotty Scheffler for like hours over and over again. It was so funny.
All-time Twitter day. Whenever like crazy things like happen, rest in peace to the person who died. Like that is very serious. But the
To be clear,
all-time Twitter day of
he did not kill.
he
the
did not.
person,
No,
though.
yeah,
Yes.
he did not
Just-
hit anyone.
It
Yeah.
sounded like we were kind of making that. No, he did not.
Yeah, that's fair.
He was not driving.
He was driving
us.
around thinking it was security. And I think the funniest thing is in the statement when he's like, the police officer attached himself to the vehicle. It's like, what does that mean? Like,
Yeah.
I think he just jumped on it.
Jumped
but
on the
they
hood.
used the word attached to the vehicle. Like, did he handcuff himself to the door or something and just get dragged? And then like he got dragged apparently for like 5 feet. Like Scott, it was the time that Scotty took to press the brake, basically.
Also,
I thought he
yeah.
like drove away with him.
celebrities more like us than I would have expected. I didn't think Scotty was driving himself to golf tournaments, to be honest. He
Dude,
makes
they all
50
do.
million a
That's-
year. Didn't think he'd be driving himself there.
That's why Tiger's got to get out of the fucking car. They all drive themselves like idiots. Like,
But like,
getting in-
what happened? So Scotty thought like this barricade was
he
for
thought-
the
he thought
golf.
it was like, yeah, he thought it was like security for the tournament, or so
he
he
just
says,
drove
you know what I mean?
around it, completely ignoring them.
Yeah, because I mean, yeah,
All right.
at some point when you're world number one in golf and you're the best player and you're there to fucking win, and it was also like 5 a.m.
Yeah.
You're getting to that fucking course, you know. And so yeah, he like slowly drove around it, and a police officer attached himself to the vehicle.
His end of round press conference was so funny. He was like, "Yeah, well, I've never stretched in a
Stretched
jail
in a
cell,
jail
so
cell."
that was first."
Yeah,
As a
Just
Scotty
crazy.
better, it's been a rough weekend. Yesterday, clearly it's been catching up to him. He was
Mhm.
terrible.
he was
Just
tough.
awful.
First over par round in 42
Yep,
rounds.
he's
Um,
not doing
Crazy.
Just the internet being what it is today is so awesome because there were people high-fiving him on the 18th green already with his mugshot like on his shirt, right? Which
I don't
is
know how
just-
you focus. And yeah, I saw people yesterday were like in orange jumpsuits, like at the holes, and like
how does that
they were
happen?
yelling like plead the fifth
That's-
after he hits a shot. Like, how do you like? Well, yeah, clearly he didn't because he sucked yesterday. So clearly
Yeah,
it's catching
but-
up to him now.
Yeah, that's crazy, man.
You
The-
think he finds he has to find that funny, right? He has to.
I don't think he
Probably,
does
given-
right now.
No, probably not right now. I'm sure he will.
He's going to
but-
court on Tuesday for like felonies.
Yeah,
So I
he
don't
got
think he
like
thinks it's
second
funny.
degree assault charges for him. Like he's
Oh,
not
no.
going to go to prison or anything.
No,
obviously, but
I don't
like,
think he thinks it's
I'm
funny
s-
right now.
I'm sure he'll have to pay some bail, but I'm sure he'll be able to laugh about it one day. But
Just
that's
not right
just
now.
an insane thing. Best tweet of the day was the money ball. We can't recreate, or we can't replace Tiger, but we can recreate him in the aggregate with Scotty Scheffler getting arrested for driving and Rory McIlroy breaking up or getting a divorce this past weekend. We're recreating Tiger in the aggregate. All-time Twitter day.
All right, Tyler, how was your week, my man?
It was good. It was hectic. Went to DC for a few days. Always nice to go there and see where your taxpayer dollars are going, because I swear flying into that city, I see the biggest houses of any state or city I've ever been to. And you just know they're like senators or some shit who make only $70K salary a year. Man, how are they getting the craziest houses in DC, just right outside like Virginia, that I've ever seen? And unlike mansions in like Beverly Hills or something, these mansions have also like an acre of yard on the ocean. I'm like, dude, these are ridiculous. So, but fun to go to DC. Obviously, a cool city with tons of history and monuments and fun stuff. But it was pretty rainy and gloomy while I was there, so I didn't do much. And I feel like I'm starting to understand why people like Arizona so much, or like visiting Arizona, is because it's always sunny here. And I was realizing, like, I went to Boston just a couple weeks ago for like 3 days, and it was rainy and cloudy the whole time. So it's like, I get sick of it being sunny all the time, but when you visit a place, you want it to be sunny for those like 2 days you're there. Because when you go to a place and it's just gloomy and rainy, like in DC, I'm like, I'm not going to go like walk out of my hotel and go to like a museum right now. I'm just going to get dumped on. So then your mindset's like, oh, that's a dull, gloomy place. I don't want to be here. Whereas people visit Arizona for one weekend, like, oh, this is great. It's sunny. It's like 80 degrees is perfect. But then when it's sunny and like 100 degrees every single day, it just gets super old. But yeah, it was good. Good work trip. Back now. Let's see, what else have I done this week? Pretty much it. Pretty standard. I'm taking this upcoming week off of work. Just been burnt out with trying to find my new job and all kinds of other stuff with work. So just going to do like a staycation this week. Looking real forward to that. Just going to catch up on a lot of stuff and chill around the house and have a fun old week. So yeah, it should be a good time. But other than that, other than the travel, been a pretty standard week. And then traveling in like a week and a half to Minnesota for my buddy Matt's wedding. So got a couple bit of travel coming up, but I feel like I'm always traveling these days.
Do you reach out, or did you reach out to Sydney when you were in DC? Because isn't she near somewhere in that area right now?
I don't know, honestly. I don't really keep up with her too much, but I know it's either Boston or DC. But like, I think she might have used to be Boston. Now she's in the DC. When I was in Boston, I tried to meet up with Owen, and I was about to, but I was like in North Boston, about 45 minutes away from the city, and he's like in Boston, and we were gonna go see House and 70 millimeter, I think, or 30 millimeter, one of the two. But just it basically would have been like an hour and a half endeavor for me to get to where he was at with like traffic and shit. And I was like, I have to be up early for this work thing tomorrow. It's just not going to happen. But ideally, if I keep traveling, I'd like to like try to meet up with, film talkers everywhere I go, but didn't happen this time. And plus I kind of just like flew in. So my event was on a Thursday. I kind of got in like later Wednesday night and left like bright and early Friday morning. So it was really just like an in and out trip.
Nice. My week, pretty standard, I guess. Like our week prior at work was super busy because we had a lot of clients in town and we had this big conference. So this week was just everyone playing catch up. It was like a little bit more relaxed this week, but just a lot of playing catch up, trying to kind of get ready because now, like this week, I'm taking off Thursday and Friday. So 3-day week, which is nice, I guess, on paper, but then you just kind of realize like I'm about to miss 2 days of work, so I gotta like grind the shit out of Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday this week. But yeah, that didn't really do much. This was the week technically that I was allowed to start working out again, so shout out my doctor. Even though I've been working out for 2 months now, technically I was not supposed to start working out until last week, so we'll tell everyone that I did. But yeah, other than that, I saw the TV Glow again, which I'm excited, Tyler, to talk about with you. Obviously, just been obsessed with Billie's new album. Just listening to that left and right. And then Victoria and I headed downtown yesterday for one of her college roommates' birthday. So nice to see a bunch of her college friends that I haven't seen in a little bit of time. And then, that's about it for me on the week. Seth, talk about what you've been watching and, give like a stranger's review, I guess.
Yeah, well done. Not much this week. I've been in my gaming era again recently. I've played so fucking much this week. It's crazy. Like,
are you guys just all playing 2K together?
No, chill. That's not my. I'm on my Elden Ring kick right now. I've played, I think, like 25 hours of Elden Ring since Monday, which is kind of insane when I really think about it. And then me, Kevin, Owen, Alex, occasionally, have been playing 2K, and obviously Tyler. Need to just get on that PS5 so you can play those. And Sammy.
I ordered it yesterday. Should be.
Oh, you ordered it? Did you order disc or digital?
Disc, because I need something to play. I can finally put away my PS3 and PS4, which I exclusively use just for DVD players right now.
Nice. And then George.
Excited to join you all.
George, we'll get you on, eventually.
Oh, well, please. Apparently I can't join. You can't
buy a PS5 then.
I'm buying a PS5 to play 2K 3 times.
Fine, Cam, you play with us then. And it comes on PC as well.
I have never once. I have an Xbox.
Oh.
I have never once played a sports video game.
Really? That's
really surprising.
Other than I used to play Madden 08 on the Wii.
Vince Young on the cover.
On the Wii. It is really fun though.
Vince Young was on the cover. That was an all-time game. Devin Hester was like a 99 speed. That was great. Great era of football.
I bought PS5 exclusively just for NCAA 25. The only reason I bought
Is that
it.
the
but
college one? That's going on?
I did play
Yeah.
college football. I might have to.
First time in 11 years. But then I also got like Lego Star Wars for Riley because she really wants to play that. Got
The
Last
new
of Us
one?
1 and 2.
Good game.
I can't remember which one it is, but I think it's the newest Lego Star Wars.
Yeah,
Apparently,
me
like
and
everyone
Alex-
says, like the greatest like Lego video game ever. But I don't know anything about the Lego video game.
Jail. It's
But
pretty
yeah,
fun.
and then I got 2K. Hopefully, you could get 2K24 is what you guys play, right?
Yeah. It's
then
it's
we're
pretty
good,
fun.
we're good.
We're getting like cleared by like 40 a game at the moment. Like,
That's fun though. I wouldn't care if I was playing with. The
That's
boys.
more fun because it's not as fun when you're clearing everyone. By
no, but
40.
we'll play like hard. We'll play like the first 2 quarters, and we'll be like, oh, we're playing really well, and then it feels like the other guys just like start trying, and then they literally beat us by 50.
Are you playing like online?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't realize you were. Okay.
And you guys are each one position. Do you have a full? Team
Yeah,
of
we're
five by the
playing,
time you play?
park. So it's like, I'll be like shooting guard. Kevin will be like center. Owen like small forward, and then Alex will be like PG when he's there, and then we'll have like a AI or whatever, it's the other guy. But it's tough because people on there are like, I haven't played 2K for years. I used to play a lot when I was younger, but people on there are like crazy good. That's the issue. So we're like, struggle street right now. So Tyler, you might be able to save us. But yeah, that's kind of what I've been doing this week. Watching wise, I watched a few episodes. I've been watching Rick and Morty again, which is kind of cool actually. Don't know if any of you guys have watched Rick and Morty. I actually really love it. I watched a film called Inbred. Don't need to speak about that too much. Bit weird. I watched Tetro because I was, it was after Megalopolis trailer come out. Wanted to watch some Coppola. Great, really, really good, really, really interesting film. Really, really great actually. I watched a Western called High Noon, and then I also watched The Strangers, which, really, genuinely difficult to sit through. It's like, so the first one, like kind of the Strangers. I know George has seen it. I don't think you other guys have, but it's kind of that classic home invasion, breakthrough in horror where people started copying. That was like the first one to do it, in that kind of way. The second one kind of does it a little bit differently, where it's like this just brutal slasher throughout with the really cool moments. This one kind of has nothing. It's essentially, George. I'm saying this because I know you've seen the first one. It's like a remake, a soft remake of the Strangers.
Yeah, everyone's been saying it's just like
It's
one
the same
one
like
copy and
concept,
paste.
but like take out any ounce of tension. It's not scary. It's stupid. The direction's really, really weird. There isn't like a single moment of like cool imagery at all. And the lead two, the couple, terrible. No chemistry. I think I said in my review, it's just like a hole of just nothingness. You don't get anything from them at all. And also it's really tame as well, because I feel like the Strangers Prey at Night especially was kind of crazy, especially in the final sort of 20 minutes. Violence wise, it's very tame. It's very, it just lacks a lot. And there, like I said before, I went into this like thinking, oh, there's a 2.3 on Letterboxd, or maybe it might be like a Prey at Night, but it's a 2.7. I'll end up really liking it, whatever. Not the case. I give it a 1.5, which honestly, looking back on it, is quite generous. Maybe it has cool moments, but it is really, really, really dull. And this is a confirmed trilogy as well. And for people who don't know, they filmed all 3 films in a space of 45 days, which really doesn't set up my high expectations for the next 2. And I don't think I'm going to watch them, to be honest, because a trilogy out of that shot in 45 days is kind of fucking insane. It feels like a Blumhouse film, you know what I mean? In derogatory, it feels like a Blumhouse film. Shit, that's literally how it feels. Was it a Blumhouse film? No, it's Lionsgate. Okay, cool. Yeah, not good. Don't recommend it. And that's kind of all I've been watching this week.
What's weird about that with The Strangers is I feel so like obviously Quiet Place day 1's coming out, but when you watch a Quiet Place, mentally you're like, man, how the hell did this go down on day 1? I feel like The Strangers isn't like a movie because chapter 1 I imagine is like the first, like the start of it, right?
Yeah, but there's no point or reason. There's no rhyme or reason.
Right, like I don't think anyone would be like, oh, I need to see how the stranger, how like the first.
It's just a hostage situation. Like this happens in real life. Oh, and it opens up, and spoilers. It's not a spoiler. No one cares. It opens up in the most like cringe, like horror, late 90s kind of way, where they're like, so that it opens in the title, not a title card, but just before the title card, like says in this big block red lettering on the screen, with like this really ambient music behind it. It's like, so this many hundreds of thousands, this exact precise number of home invasions happen in America each year, And then it goes, this is one of those cases. This is a true story and shit like that. And it's like, oh God, man. Like, no one's fell for this shit since like Blair Witch Project. Do you know what I mean? It's not something we have to do to market our films. And they have been marketing it really well. If I'm keeping up with like doing all the doorbell stuff, which is kind of cool. But, you know, it doesn't really matter if you're marketing when you film shit. That's the thing.
Movie marketing in general is getting insane. Like the horses with the apes just walking on a beach.
And
like
everywhere. They did that in like the apes did it on like San Francisco Bridge.
What's to stop a random person from like stabbing one of these people? Like if a stranger is following me home, like in that mask, I'm beating them with a club.
Surely, like it's set up. Like I don't
think it's just a random people.
I'm like, that's kind of crazy, dude. It's random people. But the Planet of the Apes one, and obviously we had the Smile one with like the baseball games a couple of years ago, didn't we? Where they were like showing up baseball games.
That's not threatening though. It's
cool. No, but it's like it's just it's interesting. I like when, because I feel like horror. Like you look about like Cloverfield, for example, which was like the biggest marketing campaign ever, like The Ring. I feel like we had these cool, like we would have these marketing campaigns that were really, really cool and well thought out, and now it's very minimal. We get anything like this, especially like outside of horror. You rarely see it, you know, not in horror. And it is cool to see things like that. Like I really like the Planet of the Apes one as well. But yeah, Strangers, not good. Wouldn't recommend. Terrible.
Tragic.
I saw Sydney's tweet about it was funny. She was like, "It's the same day when Cam was tweeting out all the standing ovations."
Yeah, that was a great.
There's an 8-minute standing boo at my screening of The Strangers, and I was the only one in the theater.
Yeah, that was very funny.
That was funny as fuck. Cam, what are you watching?
Yeah, we have our A24 rankings this week, so you'd think I'd watch a lot of A24. I didn't watch any.
Real.
Yeah, I watched the Iron Claw again because, to be honest, like I've been thinking about it. I'm like, all right, it's not number one.
Yeah,
I watched it again. I still really liked it, but I did drop it a significant amount. Not significant. But,
did you lower it on your 23 rankings? I assume,
no, probably not. I don't keep. I'll be honest.
I hate touching those after the
year's over. Soon as 2024 hits, I do not edit these.
I've actually still changed mine. Like
I will
after rewatches and stuff.
Yeah. So do I.
Edit it right now.
I do it the rating changes, but like there's so many where I'll look at like the block of 33.5 from one year and be like, oh, I want to move it, and I'm like, I'm not.
Yeah, I'm only doing like the top 5 or like 10.
Right, exactly. Yeah. I'll move those.
It dropped to 6 last year, so we'll see where it is on the A24 ranking. Yeah, but this week I watched the X-Men. Quick tease, Tuesday, bonus ReelTok episode. I don't know if it's a real quick or a ReelTok. I'll let Tyler make that executive.
Bold to tease it before you record it. That's a lot of pressure on you to make it happen.
Hey,
I wasn't going to bring it up because I was worried you guys.
No, because I think it's important to get the word, like let the world know we're back. Get the word out. X-Men 97, chit chat, myself, George, and then maybe a couple others, maybe a soups of some sort, maybe a guy who wears a hat, maybe a coal miner, and maybe a
coal miner,
and maybe a Spider-Man 2 fan. But yeah, I'm really excited to talk X-Men 97. Like it genuinely, I'm not going to talk it a ton here, but it genuinely made me like care about the X-Men that in a way none of the X-Men movies have ever done. But it made me want to watch the X-Men movies. So I watched the original 3. I'm like 92% of the way through X-Men Origins Wolverine. I'm going in release order. I don't know if that's the right way to do it versus chronological.
No, release.
Yeah, I'm going in release order just because the weird thing about X-Men, the universe, it has like a canonical like reboot in it. Like Days of Future Past is a reboot of the universe, and it's not like a long a legacy sequel reboot kind of thing. Like it's a canonical reboot for the purpose of it, which great movie by the way. But yeah, so I watched those first 3 and X-Men Origins Wolverine. Just
when you rank X-Men, do you include Logan as well? Or is that not?
Yeah, and Deadpool.
Okay,
and Deadpool. Those are Deadpool. Yeah, they're X-Men. Yeah, and also Deadpool has like Deadpool is in like the mansion every once in a while.
Oh,
have you watched those movies?
No.
Which ones are
they?
Deadpool 1 and 2.
Like no, I've not seen Deadpool. I will be.
Yeah, when you do, like they make jokes.
James McAvoy is in Deadpool 2 for like half a second.
Yeah, they all are. They shut the door or something.
Yeah,
I made a
I had no idea.
video about because it's just dumb. But yeah, whatever. And then Mulholland Drive, which we'll talk.
I still gotta watch that.
I watched War for the Planet of the Apes again with Emma, just because she was like watching through the trilogy, so I was watching that with her. And I think that's about it. Oh, shout out the Sirs. Get a dub today. Indiana sports, please be back. Fuck New York. Tyler, I know the Mavericks made it. I don't even care about the NBA, but shout out the Pacers. Let's go hoop. And also get Caitlin Clark some help. I've watched 3 more WNBA games this season than I've ever watched in my life. So shout out Caitlin Clark for that, for bringing interest. Get her some help. The Fever suck. The rest of the team sucks. Get Caitlin Clark some help. That's my sports talk for the week.
I wish so bad, like in hindsight, I had hammered the Fever losing opening night, because I was texting my friends about it all day. I'm like,
they suck.
The line is so close to the middle, and like if you on DraftKings, you can see like what percent of people are betting on each, and like everyone's betting on the Fever. And I'm like, they got the first pick in the draft for a reason, right? Like they can't be.
They got the first pick last year too. They've had
so
2
they got to be
first
pretty
picks
bad
in a row.
They got
bad.
smashed.
Yeah.
But yeah, shout out Caitlin Clark, stinking it up.
Dude, she's not. Dude, every pass she throws, just hands out of bounds, out of bounds. Like it hits people in the head and still goes off it. I don't.
Do they play at the Pacer Stadium, or do they have like a separate?
No, they play at the Fieldhouse.
That's pretty dope.
I'm going August 28th. I'll be there
because they're selling out like every single game, right?
Yeah, basically.
Yeah.
Which is awesome for the
Huge
sport.
For the
like very cool. But also, if she just sucks this year, it's just going to go back to everyone being assholes about it. Which I just want her to do well. So just get her some help, because this team sucks outside of her. So bummer.
Tank for Paige Beckers. And then just
tank for Paige Beckers, another first round pick. Then we'll be goated. And Tyler, I can't wait for Mavs Sirs finals. Can't wait.
I would love to see it.
We're right there.
It's going to be Mavs Knicks, actually.
No, boo the Knicks.
Tyler, what have you been watching this week? Or have you been watching things while away?
Yeah, I thought I watched, honestly, more than I did, but not a whole lot. So watched a couple A24 films. We're going to go over like our top 10, right, for rankings.
Yeah.
So I guess I'll talk to the ones that aren't going to be spoken about later. So watched 8th Grade from Bo Burnham. Man, that movie is so uncomfortable to watch, but I thought it was really great. But they captured the awkwardness of that age way too well, and there's so many scenes that I could hardly watch, especially like the backseat of the car scene. Man, I could, tough. And you can totally tell it's Bo Burnham too, like especially the way the lead actress is so good at carrying out his style of humor. The guy from Asteroid City, what's his name? Like Jake Ryan, I think. I wonder. I don't know if that was his first performance, but I feel like Wes Anderson watched 8th Grade, and then he saw Jake Ryan in his performance, because at the very end he plays like a Rick and Morty obsessed, like total nerd, and just has such an awkward cadence. I feel like Wes Anderson saw that and he's like, "This is my new muse to carry me into the 2020s and beyond." Because he's just, you can tell right away he's like, this guy would be perfect for a Wes Anderson style film. Watch Locke with Tom Hardy, of course, Tom Holland as well, Olivia Colman, and is Andrew Scott. Crazy cast for all these people to just be calling him on a phone the whole time, but really cool production. How they just pulled a semi trailer on the highway for a couple days, and they called him real time and recorded his lines real time. It's a really cool production to look into. And I liked it more than I thought I would. It was thrilling, intense, and it all takes place inside of a BMW. But Tom Hardy, great range of acting in that film. The Florida Project as well. That was honestly trending to be like one of my favorite A24 films, one of my favorite films, period. And I've seen in a long time. And then like the very final scene, like took me completely out of it. And George, did you rewatch it? I wonder what your take is.
I was like, because I read Sydney's review too, and she kind of said the same thing. And I don't know. I don't love the ending, but it didn't take me out of it completely. It kind of makes. Can we spoil the movie? Yeah, sure. We're spoiling the movie.
There you go.
I don't know. Like, Cam, you're on mute if you're talking.
What are you spoiling? I saw the
Florida Project.
Oh, the Florida Project.
Yeah.
Sorry, I was distracted. I thought you were about to talk. I saw the TV Glow.
No, like
review.
What's her name? Mooney like starts breaking down. Her friends just run off, and they end up at Disney World for some reason. I thought it was cute because it's like, yeah, that's kind of like what kids do when they're sad. They just find themselves in a happier place. And this was just like, I don't know. It didn't make sense. Like, how do they just run into Disney World? But like,
I mean, they were like right outside of it, but I think
yeah.
I think
I just think the emotion just took me out of it a bit. But the biggest thing is I kind of hated the way it was shot too. Like it was like a slightly fast forwarded, like shaky cam. I feel like the whole film felt so professional, and then this part I was like, I don't know, it just felt a little meh, and especially at the end of the movie. But other than that, I love the movie, and I still really liked it overall. So not to talk down on it, I still give it a 4-star. Willem Dafoe, great in it. The lead, don't have her name. I don't really think she's done anything outside of this. Brooklyn Prince, incredible.
That was her first ever acting debut.
She was, and then she was in Cocaine Bear last year.
Yeah.
I forgot about that. Yeah, she was the girl who was hanging out with she was like the little girl. Yeah.
Yeah. But good movie. Rewatched Moonlight. Liked it a lot more on second watch, but it's the first time I watched it in like 2.5 years. Watched 20th Century Woman while I was on my trip. I liked it. I didn't love it. It's by the same director as Come On, Come On. I definitely like Come On, Come On more. 20th Century Women has some great performances. Interesting screenplay. It's like a very screenplay actor-y movie for sure. So I can see why like K Meeks is super into it. But I still liked it, 3.5 stars. But I didn't really connect to it. It's kind of one of those films. Like I guess a lot of A24 films can kind of fall into this category. Type of films they tend to distribute are films that like if you connect with it, then it's going to be like an instant 5-star, like your favorite movie ever. But if you don't connect with it, then it just might not really hit you right.
Have you stopped speaking about Florida Project?
Yeah, we stopped speaking about that.
Okay, I'd turn my volume down because I haven't seen it yet.
No, yeah, we're done. And then finally, on the plane ride home 2 days ago, I watched Battle of the Sexes. Perfect plane movie. Just the most 2.5 out of 5-star movie in the world. Everything about it's just fine. There was nothing I saw in it that was like aggressively offensive, nothing that I like disliked, but there's nothing I ever saw where I was like, this is really good. I was just like, this is the most, like, if I was still on my out of 10 rating scale, is the most like 5.0 out of 10, just right down the middle movie ever. But yeah, starting to finally complete the MJ to tennis Spider-Man universe. So I've gotten 2 out of 3 down. I don't whatever the one with Kirsten Dunst's other one. Wimbledon. But Battle of Sexes is very middle of the road. Steve Carell is always a funny guy though. Love seeing him in anything.
Also I didn't watch as much as I thought I did this week. A couple of A24 rewatches. The ones unfortunately that are not making my top 10 I'll talk about. Good Time, really liked it actually, and The Florida Project, both of those very close to my top 10. And honestly, the more I have my A24 ranking open right in front of me. You could rearrange my top 20 in any order you want and I won't be upset. Like
so many 4 stars are just like,
dude, this 8 of, not to spoil my ranking, 8 of these movies are 5 stars and the remaining 12 are all 4.5s for me.
Holy shit.
So, yeah, like so I truly love all these movies. It's tough to rank. I like the ranking I have right now, which we'll talk about in a little bit. But yeah, Good Time and The Florida Project are not in my top 10, but I will talk about them. Really like it. Good Time. I don't know if this is a hot take, but Pattinson's best performance, I think.
I think The Lighthouse. I'd probably go The Lighthouse.
Oh yeah, Lighthouse too.
Good Time's great though. He's really, really good.
Yeah, he's so good in Good Time.
First watch? Was that your first watch?
No, I mean, like, yes, I haven't seen it since its release, and honestly, as I was watching it, I was like, I don't remember any of this shit.
Yeah, it's really good.
Like it felt like a first watch, but no, there were some moments where I was like, okay, that's familiar. But yeah, I love the Safdie brothers. Just zero personal space in Good Time. The camera is pressed up against a human being at every point, and it's really uncomfortable, but it's really just stressful. Florida Project, we just discussed. I really like the movie. Maybe another hot take, like a top 5 Defoe performance for me, which is crazy because he's insane.
Every performance is a top 5 Defoe performance, really.
Yeah, but it's like such a reserved performance. He just plays like this dude who's just trying to manage this motel like so well. It's just like such a fun performance. And even towards the end, where like Mooney's mom, where Mooney's trying to get taken away from her mom, he's just kind of like sitting there. It's just all in the eyes, man. I rewatched I Saw the TV Glow and Past Lives. I'll talk about those later. Spoilers. I finally watched The Idea of You. Victoria wanted me to watch it. Honestly, not bad. It's like super stupid, I don't even know how to describe it. It's a
I've
dumb
heard
movie.
nothing but good things from people about it.
Yeah,
honestly.
it's not bad by any means. But the entire time I was just like rolling my eyes. It was so dumb. And then I watched If. I'll give like a quick review on If. If
I
is
think
kind
you're
of
the
like
only
exactly
one, so
what?
I think you're the only one, so you can just give your review.
It's like it's exactly what you'd expect. It's meant for children, which like I hate saying that about movies. But like this one was truly like after the movie, I was like basically like John Krasinski made this movie for his kids. Like that's the only person he wants to watch this movie. He doesn't care about anyone else. And it shows. It was a really sweet movie. Massive difference in quality for me between the first half and the second half. I even texted you guys like this movie blows halfway through, and then at the end of it, I said like, "Sorry guys, I lied." It saved itself. Really sweet. There is like a fun little like twist, which like honestly haven't stopped thinking about. It's like a really cute little like way to end the movie.
Sophie's review, so I'm assuming it's to do with
Yeah,
that.
yeah. Sophie, a little bit of a spoiler review. but I
Sophie
think-
spoil If
well,
bomb.
she put the spoiler tag. She put the spoiler tag.
Yeah, and I haven't got any self control, so I clicked
Yeah,
that
I
shit
clicked
straight
through
away.
that shit. So
Yes, like
that's a fake tag. Like,
Also, I always assume, which is my own stupid fault, but the spoiler tag I always feel like is when people are like super cautious because I feel like no one's outright. In my mind, I'm like, no one's just outright just writing like this is what happens
some
in the
do,
movie.
to be fair.
No, I know, but that's why my stupid mind, like for Sophie, I'm like, oh, she probably like makes a funny joke that minorly mentions something, so I clicked on it.
Yeah.
So thanks, Sophie.
Do you guys mind if I spoil it? Because I kind of want to talk about it.
I
Oh,
don't
yeah,
know.
Sophie's review. I think I
now
know
it
what it is
sounds-
now.
I haven't seen it. I'll take my headset off.
Yeah, take yours off.
All right, take your
I think
headset
I know
off.
where
All
I
right.
think I know where we're going.
James, you don't want to listen to the If review.
All right, I'm putting the spoiler tag on. We're talking spoilers. So the entire time, so the movie's basically this young girl teams up with Ryan Reynolds, and they have to like save the imaginary friends. They have to like all of these imaginary friends. Their children grew up, and they didn't need the imaginary friends anymore. So this little girl, her dad is in the hospital. Her dad, played by John Krasinski, he has open heart surgery, so she's really nervous. Like she already lost her mom. She doesn't want to lose her dad. So to occupy her time, she stumbles across Ryan Reynolds and the Ifs, and she teams up with Ryan Reynolds to find all of these imaginary friends a new home, a new like child to take care of. Halfway through this movie, I looked at Sophie and I said, "Yo, imagine if Ryan Reynolds is an imaginary friend," and he ended up being an imaginary friend, and it was really sweet because like at the end, after all went well with her dad's surgery, she went back to the room where Ryan Reynolds was with the imaginary friends, and they were all gone because she didn't need them anymore because her dad was okay. And it was like a really sweet way to end a really bad movie.
So that's the whole Sixth Sense.
So that was the whole Sixth Sense. Like
Yeah.
Ryan Reynolds like wasn't real the entire time,
Yeah.
you know? All right, thumbs back up to Cam. There, putting his headphones back on. We're good, Cam.
Yeah.
No more spoilers. But yeah, those were my thoughts on If. I rated it 2 out of 5. Then I raised it to a 2.5 because I like just I don't know. It's a sweet movie. Like Cam, I think you're gonna love it. Like you're gonna watch it with Bailey, and I think you're gonna really love it.
Good.
But that's it. That's it for me.
Real quick, I was thinking about this before we get into reviews and everything. If you are here if you're here somehow, if you're the one person new that saw the not most recent, but last TikTok about baby reindeer, and you just came to rip me a new one, I've never been painted in a worse light than that TikTok ever in my life.
What happened?
Just
You did call him a wimp.
no,
You
I did,
call him a wimp.
and then I took it back because that's not the best word to use. That was not the proper word to use. And then I also talk like episode 4 obviously gives you that insight. None of that was included in this TikTok, and it's basically me just ripping this guy who's been assaulted and everything, and this true story about a man who's had a shitty and hell of a life, and how he's just a wimp and a baby. And I'm like, well, this isn't my favorite TikTok we've ever put out, Mateo. I love you and I appreciate all the work you do on these edits, but that would hurt my soul a little bit.
That's
But
right,
yeah,
man.
so if you're like the one new person listening to this episode just to come in here because of that TikTok and rip me apart, watch last episode. I feel like I was a lot nicer during the episode. I still don't change my thoughts on the show too much, but
It
feel
didn't
like I
do
was
too
lying
well
on you.
anyway, so I don't think.
No,
people
that's fair. That's
We've
fair.
all
I
said
just
some
thought I thought it
controversial
was
stuff
funny.
past. All right, before we move on to our one big review of the day, which is Jane Schoenbrun's I Saw the TV Glow. Tyler, give me your top 3 songs off of Hit Me Hard and Soft, please.
Jesus Christ.
Oh man, I need to pull up the names. I don't have them all locked in my mind yet.
I do.
So,
Okay,
yeah, you
so
can
we
go
have my
Wait, I'm gonna go and get Anna's so I can add her to the conversation.
Yeah, perfect. Go get it.
Okay,
I'll
yeah,
get her
go.
top 3.
All right, my number 1 is definitely Wildflower. This album's been out for like 2.5 days, and I think Wildflower might be my most played song of 2024 already. I've had this thing on repeat since its release. I really love this song. My number 2 is probably L'amour de ma vie. Awesome song. All of these songs, Phineas's production, insane.
Mhm.
And then my third, I've been going back and forth. I think it's The Greatest, but I also really like Blue.
Okay.
So I think those would be my top like 4 right now. And Wildflower, definitely my number 1.
Mhm. Yeah. So my definite number 1 is The Greatest. I texted you the first time I heard that
Yeah,
drop
you
and
did.
probably the 2/3 mark into it. It's very similar to fuck, dude. I was singing it all yesterday. The song from her latest album.
Not happier than ever.
Yeah, it reminds me of that in terms of where like the first 2/3 are very, very slow,
Yeah.
and very subdued, and then the final third it just unleashes.
Yeah.
So very similar stylistically in terms of the structure of it to that, which I really liked. And then so The Greatest is by far and away my number 1. Birds of a Feather is probably number 2 for me.
That's
And then
crazy.
between Wildflower and L'amour de ma vie is probably number 3.
Okay. I had Birds of a Feather is my last ranked one.
Really.
But like it's
I
a
would have
good,
Lunch probably last.
those are my bottom 2 for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Those and Skinny. Those are my bottom 3. But like I still like them.
I
Like, I
like
think
Skinny,
Lunch is still a
but-
good song. Birds of a Feather is just like a very much like kind of like that's like her pick for like what she wants to be her radio hit off this album.
Mm-hmm.
I think kind of sounds like it.
Yeah,
All right,
that or Lunch for sure.
yeah. Did you get
Yeah.
it?
Did you get your
Yeah, I
it's
did.
her top 3?
I haven't listened to it yet. I do like Billie Eilish. I will listen to it maybe today actually. Her top 3 is The Greatest, I think number 1.
Based.
Good pick.
Shihiro number 2, which is Experience
Ooh.
Tour. I think that's what
Yep.
on Twitter. And then number 3 is Wildflower.
Yeah, good pick.
Nice. She hit both of our top ones.
Yeah.
Ooh,
But
interesting.
yeah,
I'll
overall
listen to it.
album review is like a straight up 10 out of 10 for me though. Like perfect. No,
Is it
Yeah.
that good? Is it her best yet? No.
I don't know.
It's
if
too
I would-
early for that, but
Yeah, it's
it's
gonna be
album of the
tough.
year though, and not saying that just like
Easily.
like best movie of the year, like saying like genuinely like I expect her to take home like the Grammy for this, even though I don't know exactly how the Grammys work compared to the Oscars, but this is the best album of the year for sure. I don't think Taylor's gonna be able to steal this one from her.
No, as of right now, this is for sure.
But
the
21
album.
Pilots Clancy next weekend or this upcoming
Yeah.
Friday for people listening.
just
I'm very stoked for that.
to be honest.
Which Clancy was originally supposed to be released the same day as Hit Me Hard and
Billie,
Soft.
yeah.
I was prepared to take off from work that day and just
Yeah.
listen to both those albums 5
You
times
mean
each.
released the same day as the 3 limited edition Taylor Swift albums?
Yeah.
That each had a surprise song, special note. Like, man, this woman loves money. Doesn't
Yeah,
hate
she-
it for sure.
Big
What other
fan.
good albums have come out this year? I actually can't think of any. My mind's just blanking.
Cage the Elephant dropped an album last
I haven't got it. I haven't
Friday
listened
as
to that.
well. That I
Can't think-
really I didn't love. I don't think it's as good as like Melophobia or Tell Me I'm Pretty. Who else? I don't know. Cindy Lee dropped Diamond Jubilee, which I think is fine. I think Wall of
Beyonce dropped the album, didn't she? I haven't
Yeah,
listened to
Beyonce's album has a couple of bangers. I'm a big fan of Vampire Weekend, but I don't love what was it called? Only God Was About Us. Only God Was Above Us, I think. Yeah, there have been some standouts, but I don't think it's been
Not as many as usual at this point, I would say.
I also don't follow like music obviously as closely as I
No.
follow movies. So like I'm not listening to like every single release. Like some guy tweeted like his top like 7 albums of the year, and he like tagged me and he was like, "What do you think of my top 7?" And I'm like, "Dude, honestly, I've only seen 3 of these."
You haven't
or
seen any of them, to be fair.
Yeah, I've only listened to 3 of these. Like Deeper Well, Casey Musgraves' Deeper Well was a pretty good album. But yeah, I don't know.
I haven't listened to anything this year. Wow, crazy.
Get your music stuff up, bro.
I listen to old stuff. It's easier.
All right, let's move on. Tyler and I are going to be discussing I Saw the TV Glow. Unfortunately, Seth won't watch that movie until
2033. Seriously, though, let me know when you finish because I'm actually really excited for this and I don't want to hear anything.
All right, yeah, we'll text you.
We'll text y'all.
Tyler, we'll kick it off with you. I briefly. Did they just leave the call?
The stage and we'll get this a little more intimate for this review.
Okay, real. I briefly read through your Letterboxd review. Pretty much the same thoughts, but let's start spoiler free.
Yeah, so kind of like I also mentioned in my Letterboxd review, I'm going to keep this, especially after last week's debacle with Cam, going to keep this non-spoiler part super non-spoiler because I think even for this film, I think it's super hard to talk about without getting into spoilers because even talking about some of the themes and some of the takeaways you might get from it, I feel like it might not spoil it, but it might start to unravel some webs that maybe are best for someone to fully tackle on their own and start to pick apart. So I'll keep it super high level. I Saw the TV Glow, first and foremost, has insane visuals, incredible use of lighting. Jane Schoenbrunn, from a technical production in this film, I think knocks it out of the park. Just brilliant work on this production. The way this film looks, I mean, they want to be inside this TV show. I want to be inside this movie because it is like a dreadful and terrifying film. But I mean, in terms of just like it's not necessarily all neon soaked, but like all the lighting is so hyper exaggerated. Like every vending machine is super lit up. Every TV, it feels like they're blinding you when you're watching it. Just the lighting in this film, I thought was one of the biggest standouts for sure. I saw a lot of people knocking Justice Smith's performance. I saw a lot of people talking about the dialogue, saying it's not great and long-winded. I didn't really notice anything negative on that front on either side. I didn't have any issue with the dialogue whatsoever. And Justice Smith, while it's not going to make my best performance of the year list by any stretch of imagination, didn't have any issue with his performance whatsoever. I've seen probably 3 other Justice Smith movies at this point. It's just I think it's probably the most range he's shown and probably his best performance, but it's also very like Justice Smith performance in terms of if you don't like his performance in this movie, it's probably you just don't like Justice Smith, which, to each their own. But yeah, there's a lot of stuff I want to get out of the spoiler section. So I was about to dive into some, but we're going to stick with visually incredible. I didn't get as much of the existential dread and like anxiety as it sounded like you did, but it's definitely there and it builds through the score. But on top of the score, the soundtrack's incredible. Like, the soundtrack is great in this. The music, Phoebe Bridgers makes an appearance. That was one of those like Leo snapping. Not Leo snapping the screen. That was like I was like squinting and like because she's kind of like the guitarist off on the side. They don't really focus on her too much until like later in the song. I was like, is that? And then I was like, yeah, it is. But also it's like she doesn't really look like I feel like she normally looks like on her own performances, like with Boy Genius. But the soundtrack's great. Love the music in this movie. Score is incredible at helping build and elevate this tension and existential dread this whole time. And there's a ton of themes I picked up on and stuff I want to talk about in the spoiler section as well, but I'll kind of leave it there. Also crazy that Danielle Deadwyler is like the mom in this movie. She gets barely anything to work with, and she's coming off the year where she was like snubbed from being an Oscar nominee for Till for her performance. So crazy to see her like in a role where she like just does not get much room to work with because obviously it just focuses on these 2 central characters and the pink opaque the whole time. But yeah, didn't even realize it was her until after the movie, to be completely honest. Didn't realize that was Danielle Deadwyler. But yeah, I'll leave it there. I give it a 4-star. I really need a rewatch on this. I think this merits a rewatch. It's more of like a conversation starter than it is a film, even though it's a great film in its own respects. But definitely a film I wanted to unpack with people. So I'm excited to talk to you about it a little further here. I can see it going down to like 3.5, 3 on rewatch. I can see it going up to 4.5, 5 on rewatch. And I'm like split 50-50 on where that might land. So very much could use another watch. I saw it alone. Obviously, I think it's best to watch with someone else. So you can kind of unpack it. I had like an 1.5-hour drive home. There's crazy traffic after. And I like went on YouTube and just watched like 7 people's reviews, just like clicking through. And these are all people I've never seen before, never even heard of. Like even feel like I'm pretty deep in film Twitter and film TikTok, but these are names I've just never heard of before. So I was going through all their reviews and heard people would give glowing reviews, give terrible reviews, give mixed reviews. So kind of have my own one-way conversation in the car, just listen to a bunch of other people's perspectives and see what they kind of pulled away from it. And I feel like I'm pretty comfortable in what I pulled away from it. But yeah, I don't really. I'm going to need another rewatch to solidify a lot of things. But I'll leave it there. 4-star for me.
Yeah, I've seen it twice now, and I still think I need a rewatch to like fully like kind of grasp this, like, one, my thoughts, two, just a general understanding of the film, just on a more like deeper and intimate level. But yeah, I'm kind of right there with you. I really like this movie. It definitely impacted me in like ways I just didn't expect. Like insane film. Like I said last week on the pod, I've been using the word insane to describe this film countless times. I think it's just like a nightmare. I think the way that Jane Schoenbrunn like presents this experience is just absolutely haunting, and just inexplicable. Like my reaction to it, like I truly can't even explain why I kind of like had like a full-on breakdown after watching this movie. It was like just the combined like imagery just circulating in my head. And then I had Sophie like trying to explain to me what all the images meant. And like when everything like kind of clicked and I was like more understanding like everything's meaning, it just left such a crazy impression on me. And it was just so like frightening to think about. But yeah, I think creatively, there's just no one doing it like Jane Schoenbrunn right now. It's just such a unique experience, such a unique way of telling this particular story. Like you mentioned, the lighting, it's very exaggerated. It could be chaotic at times. It could be a little more intimate at other times, but I think it was obviously done purposefully. And I think it's just a fantastic way of kind of like translating the character of Owen's like very chaotic and uncertain mindset. But yeah, gorgeous in its aesthetic, which I don't think you've seen We're All Going to the World's Fair, but just another insane use of coloring and lighting. It's not as exaggerated in World's Fair, just because World's Fair kind of takes place from the perspective of like it's like untraditional found footage. You're basically watching her like doing like a live, like recording YouTube videos pretty much. But yeah, I had both times just a really profound experience with this movie. I am kind of on like the train where like if the year ends right now, give Justice Smith an Oscar nomination. I think he was really fantastic, especially that last scene. We'll get into it when we talk spoilers, but like his entire, final panic attack. Like I think that entire sequence was just so raw and so real and so heartbreaking and haunting. And I think Justin Smith just did such a great job at like just translating emotion to his audience. But yeah, I'll leave it there because we'll get into spoilers. 5 out of 5 for me. And I like down the line on this episode, we're going to be doing our A24 rankings. I've already moved it around like 4 times since the start of this episode. I have no idea what to do with this movie. I don't know how to rank it. I don't know how to talk about it. I don't know how to compare it to other films. I don't know what to do with this movie. But let's get into some spoilers. So basically we meet Owen and we meet Maddie, and they kind of form this immediate connection because they both enjoy this horror television show called The Pink Opaque, where in the show they follow Tara and Isabel, and week to week, Tara and Isabel basically have to like fight the monster of the week. It's scary. This fucking ice cream man pops on your screen. I jolted. There's a sequence where pawns of Mr. Melancholy are dancing in the woods. Fucking scary, man. So yeah, that's where the movie starts. They form this immediate connection over The Pink Opaque, and prior to our first time jump, because there are several time jumps in this movie. So we'll kind of break it up by time jump. Like before our first time jump, that's pretty much what your that's all you know, really. These two, they form this bond over the pink opaque, and this movie establishes a very sinister undertone very quickly, especially with images from the pink opaque, but also just in how you watch Owen and Maddie watch the pink opaque, because their reactions are very emotional. They're clearly being very impacted by what they're watching. So that's kind of that's everything that happens before our first time jump. You get hints of Owen's identity crisis. You get hints of, this poor household that he's living in. There's this one shot of, this is after the first time jump, but there's this one shot of his father just sitting on the couch staring at him. And that shot lingers on for like 15 seconds. And it's just way too long because he's staring directly into your soul. But all right, what were your thoughts on the intro and kind of how like Jane Schoenberg like establishes this friendship and the pink opaque and kind of where she's taking this thematically? Because this movie really does like immediately throw you into this whole like Owen's having an identity crisis. Maddie and Owen are they're experiencing the same type of identity crisis, but they're handling it very differently between the two of them.
Yeah, right off the bat, the film jumps in and makes no mistakes about what the narrative is it's going for. You obviously get the imagery of the parachute with the blue, the pink, the purple. Very clearly, that there's undertones and hints of a gender dysphoria, gender identity crisis going on here. And then you also get themes of that when they're at the school at the beginning, and Maddie's character talks to Owen and says, isn't voting day such like an exciting day for our town because the school transforms into something else, similar to when we have a carnival or something else, but just like how it's cool to see the school transform into something completely different than what it normally is. So you get those themes and undertones immediately right off the bat from this film. It's not one that's going to take time for you to unfold to start understanding what they're going to be going for with the main theme here. But yeah, so you get, and this is when you get like the younger Justice Smith, which is the 7th grade version, which isn't Justice Smith. It's played by a different character who I think he does a great job in his performance. But Maddie is the same Maddie the whole time. But yeah, I think it's not really the first act. I'd say it's a little shorter than that, but I think it really sets up this film well. You get this kid in Owen who you can tell he doesn't really have many friends. He seeks out Maddie, who to him is basically a virtual stranger. Just they're both sitting in the gym together and they're reading the Pink Opaque episode guide and kind of mentions, I've heard a lot of great things about this show. Haven't seen it. My bedtime's too early every night. So then Maddie's kind of like, hey, how about you, cause it's still when he's younger, how about you tell your parents, you're going to have a sleepover at a friend's house, but then actually just sneak over to my house and we can watch the Pink Opaque. And that's kind of his first experience getting to watch that show. Just jumps in at a random episode. I believe that's the Ice Cream Man episode that you were alluding to is the first one I watch. Yep. You get some wild imagery there for sure. Basically a jump scare kind of when you first see the Ice Cream Man, to be honest, which Mateo said there was no jump scares. And I'd say that one's borderline jump scare.
Yeah.
So Mateo, fuck you. I'm just kidding. But because I was DMing him right before the movie started, because I got to the theater like 30 minutes early, and I was like, because I woke up 1 a.m. my time to get on a flight back home, and I watched it at like 3 p.m. So like I was very tired. I'm like, I'm not really in the mood for jump scares. And I was like, there's none. You'll be fine. That was basically one, but it wasn't too bad. But yeah, so they watched the first episode. He sneaks back to his friend's house in the morning where his mom picks him up and then goes home. So basically his parents have no idea that he's going to watch this show. But ultimately it becomes too difficult for him to keep up with the live sneaking over. So Maddie ends up recording these episodes for him so that he can, and she leaves him in the dark room at this high school. So he picks up the tapes and gets to catch up on the Pink Opaque that way. But yeah, I'd say that whole first act with the younger version before Justice Smith is involved really sets the tone of this kid who's clearly lost, clearly doesn't really have a fitting in life, doesn't know where he wants to fit in, that finds Maddie, finds the Pink Opaque and latches on completely and fully and launches himself into both an obsession over, Maddie's mystery as well as the Pink Opaque and just fully immersing himself in that show. And then you get the time jump to Justice Smith, which is jarring because Justice Smith being a 9th grader doesn't really look at all. I mean, he's like 29, so being a ninth grader is a little crazy. And also just, you put that seventh grade actor next to Justice Smith as a ninth grade actor, and you in your mind, you're like, there's just simply no way that kid turns into that whatsoever. So it's one of those things like, I think Justice Smith is is a tried and true proven actor. So it might just be smarter to just go with someone. I think logically this film might have benefited from 3 actors, like a Moonlight situation, to play Owen, because it's a little jarring, especially when Maddie doesn't have any actor changes as they age. But also time is like a theme in this movie that's part I haven't really fully unpacked, and how time works in this universe. But clearly he does very much age throughout this film. And yeah, the first is pretty jarring because like I said, 1, clearly that actor couldn't turn into that actor. And 2, Justice Smith being a ninth grader is crazy and silly. But, that's one of those things, like, it takes you out of the moment for like 5 seconds, and then you just kind of accept it as truth and move on. But that's kind of my thoughts up until we get to the point here of where Justice Smith is involved, probably about a third of the way into the movie, where clearly themes of gender dysphoria and themes of parasocial relationships and obsessions are starting to be fully revealed in that first act.
Yeah, and then you kind of alluded to it, but yeah, there was the first one, I believe, was a 2-year time jump, like you said, from 7th grade to 9th grade. In the movie, Owen talks to the camera every so often, kind of just like exposition, but I think it works in this movie. But the first time he does it, he basically says, ever since the first night I watched The Pink Opaque with Maddie, I haven't been able to like stomach more than like 3 words to talk to her. So you mentioned it. She starts leaving tapes for him so he can watch The Pink Opaque. It's also his father in the car makes a comment very early on where he's basically like, isn't The Pink Opaque, isn't that a show for girls? Which kind of just plays into like themes of like his parents not like accepting who he might be as like a true identity, as being this kid who struggles with, his queerness or his transness. That first time jump, I believe, ends. His mom dies, Maddie vanishes, and The Pink Opaque is canceled. And then you're kind of thrown into the first big time jump, which I believe is 8 years. He hasn't seen Maddie in 8 years. You kind of see Owen going about his random life. And then this is where I believe the movie kind of just like kicks into overdrive. Maddie returns and they go to a bar. This is where we get Phoebe Bridgers and the first Cash Machine song, Claw Machine, which is just a fantastic song, by the way. You mentioned it earlier. The soundtrack absolutely rips. But Maddie comes back and explains to, or doesn't initially explain. She starts by basically questioning Owen. What do you remember about The Pink Opaque? And we start getting these very little clips of, instead of it being Tara and Isabel, it's Maddie and Owen is wearing a dress and they're walking down like the turf of the high school. So you're kind of like thrown into this, like, okay, what was actually going on in The Pink Opaque, and like what's our understanding of The Pink Opaque versus what's like Owen and Maddie's understanding of The Pink Opaque. Maddie goes on to basically say she leaves. After she leaves, she found home nowhere accepted her, nothing. So she explains that she goes to The Pink Opaque. She paid someone to basically bury her alive, which I think is an insane little metaphor for, you have to kill your old self and let, your true identity run free. This kind of leads into what I think is like the most frightening image of this entire movie. Owen is watching these Pink Opaque tapes. And one thing I didn't know before going into this movie, which I think I would have liked to know, do you know what I saw the TV glow means?
Nope. Okay.
And I might be butchering this entire explanation, but this is my understanding of like seeing the TV glow. And if I'm wrong, please comment on this video telling me I'm wrong. But apparently, like when you see the TV glow, you basically like you're seeing your true identity come out. So like at the end of the movie, when Owen like cuts himself and like he stretches his skin and it's just glowing. That's like his like internalized true identity like coming out. So that one scene where Owen kind of has like a panic attack and just shoves his head into this TV screen. This is like the moment after the movie where I like kind of had my breakdown, because I was like, in my head, it's like, okay, this imagery is insane by himself. Like this poor kid just had a panic attack. He's shoving his head into a TV. His dad is pulling him out. He's trying to get back in. And then the scene cuts to him in the shower screaming his head off. And I'm pretty sure, and I could be wrong about this, I'm pretty sure he's screaming like, I just want to be free, or like something along those lines. So like, this is the first example of like, that imagery alone is fucking frightening. Like it's haunting. This is where I think Justice Smith is just so good. Like he's screaming and panicking and it's just haunting. Like I have not let that imagery of him in the shower like leave my head. And then after the movie, Sophie basically explains to me like he wants to see the TV glow. He wants to release his true identity. But in like the experience of being queer or you know, this trans experience, it's your parents that are the ones that are typically like holding you back. They're the ones that typically can't accept who you truly are, which is the image of his dad pulling him out of the TV and he wanting to go back. So like, I don't know, all of that came together for me and I was like, that is so fucking scary. But yeah, that's kind of where like that's when Maddie comes back. I believe at that point it was 8 years later, so I think it was like 2006 from the first 2-year time jump. I'll let you talk a little bit. I feel like I just rambled on for no reason.
No, that was great. So yeah, a couple things. So one thing we kind of missed before that first time jump is a very important conversation they have on the bleachers at school, where Maddie asks him like, you know, do you like girls? And he clearly doesn't have an answer. He's like, I don't know. Doesn't really answer. And she's like, do you like boys? Then he kind of, again, doesn't really have an answer. And then ultimately says like, I like TV shows. So clearly, again, hitting the themes of he doesn't really know who he is, his identity, what he likes, what he doesn't like, but he does know he loves TV shows. He loves the pink opaque. And that's kind of another big theme of this movie is people becoming so obsessed with media, especially when you feel like the world isn't accepting you or there's no one in the world that understands you. Finding a particular band, a video game, TV show, movie that really speaks to you and making that your identity and living vicariously through that, and kind of what the dangers of that can be, where, you know, these worlds start blending, of where you start that obsession and that immersion starts to overtake your own personal world. And, you know, I think we can all relate to times in our lives or where we've had, you know, something that just takes over an obsession and that's all we can think about, whether it's a band or a game or a show or movie, where you don't want to do nothing more than just focus on that and talk about that and get t-shirts of that, listen to interviews of that, watch video clips of that, and follow them on social media and like do nothing but that. And you develop these parasocial habits where you're just immersing yourself too much and too deep into this thing where it can almost start blending your own reality, which is kind of, you know, Owen and Maddie both can't find in this world someone who understands them. Obviously, Maddie's father is abusive. When Owen first goes over there, Maddie's like, you know, you can stay here, but be out before dawn, because if my dad finds you down here, he's going to break my nose again. So clearly Maddie's home life is terrible. She wants to run away. Very clear. And times when Owen's over there, there's screaming upstairs. So Maddie's life isn't great at home. Her parents are not accepting of who she is. Same with Owen. His mother obviously seems to be more empathetic than his father, but his mother passes away of cancer early in his life, around like 8th grade or so. And then his father, you know, like George was saying with, you know, he's pulling him out of the TV also earlier in the film. Like he's saying, no, you can't stay up late to watch that show for girls. So a lot of stuff like George was mentioning, you know, it's just the parents trying to hold him back, not accept who his identity is, try and pull him away from what he is able to fully realize in his identity. So they basically kind of use this TV show, The Pink Opaque, to find that identity, find those people, those characters to latch onto in Isabel and Tara. And that starts to just fully absorb their world. And they become so invested in the show that, you know, Maddie mentions it's kind of a silly show that not a lot of people love, but to her, she thinks it's terrifying and thrilling and incredible and one of the best shows ever made. So clearly they're attaching and latching themselves onto this more than most people are. And yeah, beyond like, you know, the whole trans experience and the gender dysphoria, think, obviously the parasocial relationship with media and inserting yourself into media and letting it overtake your life and consume your life. Another big theme here, because it kind of leads to them. And that's kind of what brings us to the crux of that bar concert scene where Maddie's basically saying like she's been fully submerged in the pink opaque these years and all the crazy trips and trials her life has gone on since, whereas Owen hasn't fully accepted that. And she kind of asks, will you agree to be buried alive with me and join me and start season 6 of the pink opaque, and we jump into this thing together. And Owen, is wishy-washy and ends up not doing it. And that's the last time he ever sees Maddie. So they kind of split there and go their separate ways. Also during this moment, Maddie's hair is cut super short, a different haircut. And he says Maddie several times, and she says, that's not my name. So doesn't ever clarify what her name is. So, you kind of left up to interpretation. My understanding is with her transformation and what all events she undergoes and all the traumatic experiences, and then finally coming out on the other side of it to finally go back to Owen and says it's not her name. My understanding, my personal takeaway was that she, fully converted. She accepted her new life, her new personality. If that's, trans experience, if she's now, identifies as a man or what have you, I think that's kind of what she's fully accepted at this point, where Owen has not. And because clearly we see him in the dress, we see him living in that universe as, I believe his is Tara. I don't know.
He's Tara, yeah.
He's Tara, yeah. So it's Tara. Whereas he's not fully jumping in. And I think Maddie, she's making it sound like what she's been enduring is a nightmare. But I feel like they came out on the other side of it to where now they're accepting their new identity. Owen's not really ready to jump into that fully. They ultimately split ways. He doesn't fully commit. So my interpretation was Maddie has fully accepted her new identity at this point and is living that truth now and has gone to the other side. Whereas Owen is hesitant to do that. He's still his personal life, his friends, or coworkers, I guess, and his dad. He's not ready to make that jump. And also, like you mentioned, he breaks the fourth wall a lot in this movie, and he's an unreliable narrator. He says a lot of things that might not be the truth, portrays emotions that you don't really fully believe. And, kind of at the end of the movie, kind of transitioning that now where he says like, things are going great for me now. I have a family of my own, got my dad's house, got a brand new TV. But the whole time you don't believe that, or at least I didn't believe that. I don't believe that.
I was going to ask you that. None of that is real, right? Like,
no, like that's why I think
the movie cuts so quickly from like really like haunting, really like depressing. Like Maddie is telling Owen about like this journey she went on. And then the movie cuts to like a sunny day, a nice house. What's his dad? Frank, his dad, I think, like passed away. He got the house, he got his kids, but he's still working at like this shitty fun center. So like, I didn't believe any of that.
Yeah. So I think that's part of the unreliable narrator perspective that I was picking up on, where I think when Maddie's telling their story, it sounds so horrifying and terrifying because a lot of stuff that they mentioned but Owen also, as a narrator, we're kind of viewing this through his lens. He finds that to be so terrifying and horrifying to be able to make that transition and fully accept who they are, that he decides I'm not going to bury myself. I'm not going to fully submerge myself into the pink opaque. I'm staying with who I am. And I think it kind of ties back to that earlier conversation on the bleachers, where not only does he mention he doesn't know if he likes boys or girls, he likes TV shows, but he mentions earlier in the film that it doesn't feel like he has anything on his insides. Anytime anyone asks him about boys or girls or who he likes, feels like it's scooping out the insides of him, that he's just a hollow vacuum in there where there's nothing inside of him. And then you kind of mentioned where he cuts himself open at the end and reveals that it's just like a big TV glowing. I think there's multiple interpretations. I think your interpretation of you and Sophie talking about how, like, what I didn't know what I saw the TV glow mean. So I think it could mean him accepting his new identity at that point. I kind of took it as, to me, which again, I've only seen it once. So I think I have a lot I could still unpack, is that, earlier he says he doesn't know if he likes boys or girls, but he likes TV shows. I interpret it as like, that's a TV inside of him. So it's like Maddie's fully accepted who they are, whereas Owen is still living this nightmare of working this terrible job, clearly doesn't like his life. And we kind of realize that his insides are still scooped out and there's nothing in there. And that, he hasn't accepted what his identity is. And that's why he kind of gives this unreliable narrator perspective of, I have a great life now. I have a family of my own. No shot he has a family of his own, and
Zero.
no shot his life's going well. So I think it's just him still coping with the fact, and still kind of what the whole theme of this movie is with parasocial relationships, and using a TV show like The Pink Opaque to replace your own life, supplement your own life, to ignore and distract yourself in the fact that you're living a nightmare and not living your truth. I think it just continues there, where he's just putting on a front. He's like, everything's great when it's not, and just continues to bury his life. And he buys a new TV. I think that shot's great, where he has a new TV where it's the LG logo. So it's like life's good is obviously their motto. It's the LG TV. Clearly, not life is not good for him. He's still living that nightmare. So to me, the big takeaway I got from this film, which again, there's a billion different interpretations you could have, but my takeaway is that Maddie has fully accepted who they are. And if that's, fully accept, being a man and a trans identity. But I think at this point, Maddie, whatever their new name is, fully has accepted who they are and has moved on with their life, and that they're living their life as is, even though in Owen's perspective, they might be in the middle of a nightmare. But in reality, Owen's living that nightmare, has not still accepted who they are, even by the end of the movie, because they're still lying to the audience and saying that things are going well when they're not. So by the end of this movie, I think Maddie has fully accepted her new identity and knows who she is at this point, or who they are at this point. If it's a he or what have you, whereas Owen has not, and is still seeking out, trying to escape this nightmare of his life. But that again, that was my turn to ramble a ton, but there's so many takeaways from this. And I really want to unpack your whole takeaways and thoughts too, because I think there's so many fascinating ways you could go with this and what you could pull from it.
Yeah, which is also one of the cool things, I guess, about this movie, is that there's no hand holding. This movie isn't hey, here are these images, here's exactly what these images mean in the context of a queer or a trans experience. It's kind of left, especially, and I don't say this in a rude way, but I'm ignorant obviously to the trans experience. It's just not something I'm very educated on. So I feel I could watch this movie 4 more times and have a different interpretation on everything that's going on every single time I watch this movie. But yeah, I'm kind of on board with what you're saying. My one big takeaway is, and I'd like to hear your perspective, or your how you analyzed this. So Owen is pretty much meant to be Tara. Maddie is meant to be Isabel. So at one point the show gets canceled. The way I kind of see that is, the show getting canceled is pretty much, I'm assuming it's because either Tara or Isabel, one of the actresses, just didn't want to continue, which in my mind is Owen not wanting to go with Maddie to, free her identity, or free their identity. And then when Maddie basically asks Owen, come back for me with season 6, this is Maddie again trying to persuade Owen, listen, you need to release your true identity. And a big part of this movie, that I think why this movie kind of plays out more of this really haunting cautionary tale, is Jane Schoenbrunn is basically showing 2 sides of this experience. One person that has accepted their queerness or their transness, and one person that hasn't. One person in Owen who is, hiding everything, and he's kind of facing those consequences on what it means to hide your true identity. And both journeys going on simultaneously are equally as frightening. Owen has just all of this pent up anxiety and panic, and he's just losing his mind because he's not being his true self. Whereas Maddie has released her true identity, but to get there, it was just this horrendous journey that she had to go on. She had a panic attack. She had someone, she paid someone to bury her alive. It's it's 2 sides of the same journey, but they're just such different experiences, which is just so haunting, because you also kind of didn't expect, or at least I didn't expect, this movie to end on such a devastating note. I truly thought the movie was going to end on a nice fun high, where Owen frees his true identity, but it ends with him having a fucking panic attack, and living with the consequences of not releasing his true identity. So the whole thing to me is just, it's frightening. I think this is just we've seen movies talk about whatever PTSD. We've seen movies talk about, illness or mental health. And I've never seen something like this. I've never seen like an experience be told through this like just type of haunting lens. But yeah, that's kind of like where I'm sitting right now in terms of like just how I'm interpreting this movie, how I'm interpreting how I'm interpreting Maddie.
Interpreting kind of goes hard. That's kind of a sick word, honestly. We should keep that going.
But yeah, that is how I interpret both of their journeys, and I think it's fucked.
Yeah, I think it's really interesting because when he cuts his chest open in the TV or the glowing light, which I assume is a TV glowing inside of him, I feel like there's two very different interpretations you could have from that, which is interesting because I think either you could go with, like you mentioned with what it means to see the TV glow, where it's like your true identity. But then also kind of like because I didn't know that going into it. So my takeaway was like, again, like you said earlier, he doesn't know if he likes boys or girls, he likes TV shows. So I feel like he has that panic attack and nightmare at work where he just starts screaming in the middle of a birthday party, and kind of all the shortcomings of his life kind of comes to a front where he realizes like he hates his life. He's been living a nightmare. He wants to be free from it. So then he goes to the bathroom, cuts himself open. And my kind of interpretation was almost like a more negative one, where when he cuts himself open, he sees the TV glowing in there. So it basically means, like you said earlier, his insides are scooped out. There's nothing in there. And he says he likes TV shows. So TV's in there. And I feel like he kind of saw that and he remembers like, yeah, this is who I am. I just like TV shows. And then walks out and he's like telling everyone I'm sorry. But clearly like none of them really acknowledge him or see him. So to me, it's like no one sees his true self or his true identity. So he's still not living his truth. And he's just a hidden person that no one's realizing. And then kind of goes on to say like, life's great now. And it's really not. So I kind of interpret it as like he's just, again, him using the pink opaque to just be like, okay, I got, my TV, which he almost comes out of because he realized like, oh, the pink opaque's not at all what I remember it from a show. This show kind of sucks, honestly, and like not nearly as scary or real like of a production that I thought it was. But I feel like it just kind of furthers hints that he's trying to accept who he is, but by the end of the movie, I still don't think he fully has. And I would say, to echo what George is saying, seek out trans voices, seek out queer voices for the reviews of this. They could go into that so much better than us and obviously give firsthand experiences and discuss these at much deeper lengths than we do. We're just giving our thoughts on what we pulled in the movie and what we interpreted from it. But I would definitely recommend seeking out, queer voices, trans voices for trying to unpack this further and getting some different perspectives on this one. Because this is definitely a film, at the very least, that hearing multiple perspectives is the right move here. Because like George said, Jane Schoenbrunn doesn't hold your hand for this. She doesn't really give a definitive takeaway or answer. And I will say, without spoiling a different movie, but couldn't have been a better week for Mulholland Drive to be our review of the week, because there's so much here that you could attribute to being parallels. And also just with the bar scene in general, very Twin Peaksy. A lot of people have made that comparison. And I mentioned this in our group chat or movie talk group chat, like saying 100% of the reviews I've read for this or listened to on YouTube, because I just listened to like 10 YouTube videos, like I said, 100% of them mentioned David Lynch and Lynchian vibes, and especially with the bar scene being Twin Peaks, and Mulholland Drive was brought up quite a few times. So if you haven't seen this and you're still listening to this in the spoiler section, I don't know why you would be, but if you're familiar with David Lynch's work, literally 100% of reviews mention it. So very similar vibes. If you're a big fan of David Lynch, I think I saw TV Glow might be one to check out. But yeah, I think I don't think I got as scared as you were. I know you mentioned this was like your scariest movie of all time. For me,
it's such an untraditional type of like fright. Like I said, it was just like it was just like the imagery. Like I said, it's like haunting on its own, even like taken out of context. And then like just while you're like I said, like Jane Schoenbrunn, they don't let you, like, they're not holding your hand throughout this movie. They're letting you interpret it however you want. So like on initial view, all of these scenes, like most things just went over my head. I was like, that's scary to look at. But like in my head, I'm like, I don't know how I would interpret this. And then like, as I kind of like pieced things together and kind of like understood what the imagery meant in the context of, the queer and trans experience, that's when the hauntingness and the frightening shit like hit me and I lost my mind. I didn't have like the same reaction on rewatch. I was certainly impacted by it on rewatch, but I think I was just on rewatch. I was more focused on like trying to like explain everything. I was more focused on like just like conjuring up my thoughts and like how I would interpret every scene. But on first watch, after like all of that realization hit, I thought this was just dreadful, beautifully dreadful. But yeah, five star from me, 4 from Tyler. Like Tyler said, for him on rewatch, it can go down, it can go up. Same thing with me. Maybe on rewatch, it can go down. Maybe it'll stay at a 5, but I think I'll have like a different perspective on this film every single time I watch it. We got Seth and Cam back. We are going to jump straight into our A24 special segment.
Also,
yeah,
George, I don't want me to ask you, have you been to see Billie Eilish live?
I have, once.
How was it?
It was really good. It was a lot of fun. It was after her Happier Than Ever.
She just got tickets for it like this year.
She's coming to MSG in October, and I want to get tickets, and I was just looking at them, but like the cheapest tickets right now are like $170, and I mean for MSG, it's just too far away. So we'll see if those tickets go down. Obviously, I would love to be a part of that. But all right, top 10. This is what we're gonna do. We're gonna do top 10 A24 films. We'll go 10 through 6 as we usually do. We'll give like a quick brief synopsis on those 5 movies, what we love about them, and then we'll kind of speak more in depth on our top 5. I'd imagine of any ranking we've ever done on this podcast, this will be like the most different between the 4 of us, I'd imagine. But we'll see. Cam, we'll kick it off with you. What are your 10 through 6 A24 films?
Alrighty, A24, kind of mid. I have
also mention how many you've seen. Like how many are on your list total?
Yeah, I guess I got 32 in my list total. Didn't watch any new ones. There are a couple I want to watch that like I thought I probably should before this. Maybe a good time, a come on. Definitely should have watched a couple, but I'll be honest, I didn't want this week to feel like I was just watching things to watch them. So I got 32 on my list, but we'll start off number 10. Actually, first off, honorable mention number 11. Shout out Midsommar. I think I'm the biggest Midsommar defender here. I'm a big fan of it still.
Good movie.
But number 10, The Iron Claw, 91 out of 100. The reason I rewatched it this week is because I was looking at it and would have been my number 1. And I was like, yeah, it's not that. So I rewatched it. Number 10, though, I do still really enjoy it. Number 9, The Florida Project. We talked it a little earlier. Just an incredible look into the life of just people living right outside of Orlando. I know Orlando can be this magical place, but you don't always see like the people actually impacted around it. Number 8, The Last Black Man in San Francisco, 92 out of 100. Real quick episode something. We definitely watched and reviewed it there. Definitely give it a watch if you have not
Early one
to watch. Yeah, go watch our real quick on it. It was actually like literally recorded that the day after the Jonathan Majors news came out.
I remember that.
If I'm not mistaken. Yeah, if I'm not mistaken, it was like literally the day after we picked the review, and then recorded it this like Saturday night. All the shit hit the fan and recorded it Sunday morning.
I think we might have recorded it, and then like that later that day or the day later it came out, and then we were like worried, saying like this is coming out Thursday, but we recorded it like before this happened, so we're gonna be glazing him, but.
Yeah,
we didn't know.
Have been it. It was like horrible timing with that and the review or something like that. And then number 7, also a 93 out of 100, maybe 94 out of 100, 8th grade. Tyler mentioned it. Just one of the best looks into like 8th grade and growing up in middle school, and just how hard it can be. And life at that time, like things are so small, but they seem so big. 8th grade. And then number 6, a 94 out of 100 as well. Just missing out on the 5 out of 5's Lady Bird. Another just great look at growing up in life. And I'm a big coming of age fan as always. So that's a lot of my movies, and A24 does them very, very well. And I was looking at my list earlier. Only thing of note, I'm like The Holdovers is the most A24 movie ever. I feel like that wasn't an A24. So I was like about to add it to my list. And I'm like, wait, I don't think that's actually A24.
Didn't we say that about I think Manchester by the Sea?
That too. That's another one.
Yeah, it was like the most non A24 distributed.
Yeah, they just have they got a vibe always with it.
They got a distinct style.
Yeah.
They definitely have a lot of movies that like break that vibe, but a lot of them kind of blend together a little bit in that sense. But very good studio, all 4.5 out of 5s right there.
Cam, where does Lady Bird take place?
Sacramento.
You'll never forget it now.
Never forget it now. Yeah. That's not my best moment. And I watched it that night. Not my best moment. Season 1, episode 1.
It's not something easy to remember, but it is just funny because like you rewatch it right after, and it's the first line of the movie, and you're like,
yeah. And you did that for like a first line trivia once, and I was like, got me right there. It's Lady Bird. Yep.
It's all right. They say shiny and chrome and Mad Max about 1 million times, and I still got that question wrong. So
that's brutal.
Whatever. Seth, 10 through 6.
My 10 is Yorgos Lanthimos's Killing of a Sacred Deer. Really like the film a lot. This is my only 4-star on the 10, and then it kind of goes up from here. I just checked now, I've seen 59. I've seen 59 of them. So these are my 9 is Uncut Gems. One of Sandler's best. Really, really good. Really intoxicating film. I actually liked it a lot more when it first came out. I liked it, but then I rewatched it probably like a year ago. I liked it a lot more then. Great film. My 8 is Greta Gerwig's Lady Bird. For me, by far my favorite of her 4 films I've seen. 3 solo feature directed films. Really, really great. Really fantastic little coming of age and relationships with parents, fitting in. Fantastic. Saoirse Ronan is great. My 7 is Hereditary. Fantastic film. By far, again, similar to Greta Gerwig with 3 films. Wait, has I asked them 3 films? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
It's by far my favorite Asta. I think it's a fantastic look at grief, family values and connections. Has genuinely some of the creepiest sequences probably the last decade, and especially like imagery wise as well. There's some fucking just such cool shit in that film, and then obviously the cast are great as well. And my 6 is Robert Eggers' The Lighthouse, with obviously Willem Dafoe, Laura Patterson, full of religious, cultural allegories, crazy shit. Something you can watch 1 million times and still not fully understand what the fuck is happening. Love that film.
Can I time out real quick? Just real quick. I was looking up. I may or may not have I was looking up the Last Black Man in San Francisco real quick. So I googled like ReelTok Podcast, Last Black Man in San Francisco. Do you guys know we're on IMDb?
Yeah.
Well,
I did not.
We are.
Yeah, we're on IMDb. Like every episode is on IMDb.
Yeah, it does that for a lot of podcasts. I don't really know why. Have you not Googled ourselves before, Cameron?
No, I don't think so. But that was like a really that was like a what the fuck kind of thing for me.
We all have solo Reddit pages now. That's all that. I think you sent that.
There's no way I do.
Well, no, it was just me and Seth at one point, and I think George might have been added. ReelTok has one. ReelTok has
all of our episodes.
Well,
yeah.
Who's updating this?
It might honestly be automatically pulled from an RSS feed. Like,
it doesn't have any of like our names or anything.
Yeah, it doesn't list us out.
You guys need to research us more.
Yeah, you need to someone put us on that list. Get us on IMDb proper.
Yeah, right.
Get us on serialized. I don't know.
But it was real quick. Episode 34 was that. But shout out IMDb. Got us.
Nice.
Oh yeah. No cast.
All right, Tyler. 10. It's Seth. You gave your 6.
Yeah.
Tyler, 10 through 6.
Yeah, so I have 58 A24 films logged. The ones I wanted to watch this week that I wasn't able to get to, so the ones that I like just missed out on watching were that I really should have watched are First Reformed, First Cow, Green Room, Saint Maud, Under the Silver Lake, and then I had some others I want to watch, but none of those are really that.
Some bangers there to be
Killing a Sacred Deer as well. So definitely a lot of bangers I still need to watch. We'll probably be definitely doing like a Yorgos episode before Kinds of Kindness, so I'll be getting around to Killing a Sacred Deer. But my top 10 of the 58. So number 10, I have David Lowery's A Ghost Story, one of the most devastating looks at loss and grief and depression I've ever seen in my life. A movie that took me completely by surprise, a movie that easily, if I was watching on the wrong day, I feel like I might not have liked as much as I did, but I guess it just caught me at the right time because I loved everything about it. Number 9, Everything Everywhere All at Once. Obviously, it came out recently enough to where we talked about this a lot on the podcast, and especially covering Oscars as well. So not much more to add there, but it's one of those that is similar to like Interstellar to me, except I hold Interstellar higher, but in terms of where I watched it and loved it, everyone in the world talks about how much they hate it and how much it's overrated, how much it sucks. So then I want to rewatch and like, let's see, like, does it still live up to it? And I rewatched it. I still really like it. I mean, it's not as, like I said, it's not as high as I had it on initial watch, but I still have a great time with that. I think it's really heartfelt, really emotional. Michelle Yeoh and Stephanie Sue's final conversation together, just so perfect. Number 8, I have Uncut Gems. Adam Sandler, incredible. Safdie brothers, so uncomfortable and tense. Kevin Garnett. I shout out Uncut Gems. I've used it for so many different Trivia 10 questions about like what the parlay was that Adam Sandler places, who's playing the Celtics in the game, all kinds of fun stuff there. But loved Uncut Gems, super uncomfortable, super tense. And as someone who likes to dabble in sports betting, adds another little layer of fun to that movie as well. Number 7, Problemista from this year. Well, technically it says 2023, but I think it kind of mostly got released this year. Julio Torres directing. He's the lead actor as well with Tilda Swinton. I don't know. I really love his. Greta Lee's also in it as well from Past Lives, of course. But I love Problemista. I think it's such a great deconstruction of the facade of the American dream and the immigrant story trying to come to America and pave their own way, and all the barriers that are placed in front of them, and how it's almost comical to a point of how impossible it is to get on your own feet and start climbing the American ladder if you are already starting at such a rate behind based on all the barriers put in your place. And then number 6, already been mentioned, The Last Black Man in San Francisco. Of course, we did review that on the podcast on a real quick episode. I definitely need to rewatch it because this is one of those that I gave it a 5-star on first watch, loved it, and it's been a while now since I've watched it. And it's one of the, like, I think we all have films where you watch it and you rate it a long time ago super high, and in your mind you're like, is it actually that good?
Yeah.
And start falling down the list in your mind. So I don't
we
know.
had this conversation this week, didn't we? Because like George said he was dropping all the ratings, and I said to George, I'm gonna have a look for it. I look through my 5 stars. I'm like, when did I even last think about this film? And I have it at a 5-star. Do you know what I mean? It happens all the time.
But this, I remember loving it on my watch, but I need to rewatch on that because it's just starting to tumble down the rankings where, it's still at 6, but it might have been like 2 or 3 based on where I watched it initially, but need to give it a rewatch. But yeah, that's my 10 through 6.
Wait, what 6 was yours? Sorry, I completely blanked out then.
Mine, The Last Black Man in San Francisco.
Okay, yeah. So.
Also, we should give our bottom 5 when we're done with our top 10 just for fun.
Oh, yeah, let's give our bottom 5 as well.
I don't even know if I could make my bottom 5.
George, there's a list on Letterboxd with every A24 film and just sort it by lowest, highest.
I made a list of like A24 movies.
Oh, do you have a list?
Yeah, I put everything together. I have 60 logged. Technically 59 because apparently Anthony Jeselnik's stand-up comedy special was distributed by A24.
There's a lot of stuff like that.
Keep it 60.
Steph Curry Underrated was distributed by A24 as well. So yeah, the Steph Curry
that's cool.
And then like a couple of these, like on my full list of A24 films, I've removed my rating just because I haven't seen them in a while. My 10 through 6. At number 10, I have Uncut Gems. I just really an anxious experience, and it's really just like I said with Good Time. There's no personal space. You feel like you're just right up against these people, and this is just such a chaotic narrative. There are so many people speaking at once. There's so much going on at once. You just feel like everything's going to explode. My number 9 is The Green Knight. I'll die on this hill. I think this is one of the best looking films we've ever seen. I think it is absolutely gorgeous. It is this massive fantasy epic, but it's not like an epic in like the sense of like the way like the Lord of the Rings are. It's more of like this really awesome and intricate dissection of Arthurian lore and medieval storytelling, which I really, really, really enjoyed. My number 8, I mean, just even looking at my list, I feel like 8 is disrespectfully low for Barry Jenkins' Moonlight, but it's sitting at number 8 right now. But keep in mind, my top 8, all 5 out of 5s. So Moonlight is a 5 out of 5, and you could rearrange my top 10 in any order, and I wouldn't be upset. One of the most heartbreaking and harrowing coming-of-age films we've ever seen. Deservingly giving Mahershala Ali his first Oscar, but like Trevante Rhodes, Andre Holland, Janelle Monáe, there's just such a phenomenal cluster of actors and actresses putting on just all-time performances to give this coming-of-age film just just its flowers. It's so incredibly moving and just deserving of that Best Picture. Even though I do love La La Land more, not even remotely upset that Moonlight won that Best Picture nominee. My number 7, actually, I just bumped it up to a 5-star on rewatch, and that is Celine Song's Past Lives.
Wow.
I've mentioned it like a million times in this podcast. I think if you could just throw out like a New York aesthetic, especially a New York City aesthetic, I'm going to be so attracted to you. But I also think Greta Lee just gives one of my favorite performances of like this decade. Same thing with Tayo Yu, and I apologize if I mispronounce his name, but even same thing with John Majaro. I think the three of them are just putting on phenomenal performances. I think this is one of the most beautifully written films of the last decade. It's so impactful. It's so heartwarming while simultaneously heartbreaking. It is a film that's just asking you to question fate, question your life experiences, question your destiny. And I think it's really beautiful. And from Past Lives, Sharon Van Etten's Quiet Eyes, her original song for this movie, should have won Best Original Song at the Oscars last year. And then my number 6, it was mentioned already. I have David Lowery's A Ghost Story. I don't know what episode we talked about it on Real Quick, but this was, I'm pretty sure, like one of our longer Real Quick episodes. Seth, I don't think you were on that one, actually.
No, I wasn't.
Yeah, it's why I think we recorded that one late at night, Eastern time zone.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think this movie is so it's so heartbreaking. It is so emotionally demanding. Rooney Mara is like truly, I just think, one of the best actresses working today. And I don't know. Every time I watch this movie, I'm like, I can absolutely see why someone would find this really boring, but like my experience with it is just it's so impactful every single time. So that's my 10 through 6. Now we'll go around and we'll just go one by one on our top 5. I believe we started with Cam Walsh 27. What is your 5th ranked?
Yep. Getting
A24.
into my 5 out of 5 A24. So the next 5 are 95 out of 100, Real Quick, episode 68, Minari. Just an incredible look at just life in America and the immigration to America and everything. We talked about it in Real Quick, episode 68. It is one of those. I still like hold it very highly, but it is one of those, Tyler, like you mentioned, like we talked about it for the Real Quick, rated super highly because I loved it. Haven't gone back to it since. So will I love it as much on rewatch? I don't know. Should I stop rating movies 5 out of 5 on first watch? Maybe, but I probably never will. Because it's very hard for me to get back to rewatches, especially nowadays. So
There's no
I'm
right
just
or
gonna-
wrong answer on how to rate.
Yeah,
No need to
exactly.
apologize for yourself.
Exactly. But still a fantastic movie. And like I mentioned, you can go watch our Real Quick. Did anyone else mention Minari? Or
No.
haven't yet? Maybe we'll see it. Maybe we'll see it come up. But if not, you can go see all of our thoughts then.
Is it me?
That's now for 5.
It's Seth, number
Tyler,
5.
the Georgia.
My 5, that's a 4.5. These have all been 4.5 so far, apart from Killing of a Sacred Deer, is Moonlight. Amazing film. Obviously, George kind of touched on already. Brilliant look in 3 different periods of his life. I can't remember the main character's name now. Just really incredible, so intimate. Love the ending. And goes through so much of sexuality, poverty, relationships. It's fantastic. Having a father figure in your life as well. Love Moonlight. Probably one of my favorite coming of age films. Probably this century actually so far. Really, really fantastic film. And just gets into my top 5.
And then me, my number
Seth,
5. Oh, go ahead.
When did you drop Moonlight from a 4.5?
Dead ass, man.
Or from a 5, I mean.
Ages
Is
ago.
it in the Real Quick or Real Talk collection?
No. Because it
Okay,
wasn't a 5 for me until
Seth-
recently.
Yeah, it was
Well,
Seth's
never
a 5.
original was a 5. Like, because I'm looking at reviews from friends and they're all 5 out of 5. So I was like,
I dropped it like probably about a year and a half ago, or like a year ago.
It was a near one into the Real Talk collection because I didn't have it at a 5 when Seth did, and now I have it at 5 when Seth did.
Probably.
Close. But my number 5, the Iron Claw. Just quickly, Cam mentioned Minari. That's like the poster child for me in terms of movies. Like, if I had to pick one movie that like I watched and loved it and like haven't watched it in forever, and it just keeps moving down my rankings. Like I moved it so far down my A24 rankings for no reason other than like that's just like the number one movie for me of like I need to rewatch it because I have no clue what the hell I think about that movie right now. But still really liked it, but not my top 10. But Iron Claw is number 5 for me. It's on HBO Max now, so I might have to give it a rewatch. But I really adored it, really loved it. I went in completely blind, didn't even know the Von Erich name, so beyond blind. And kind of similar to George with New York City. Like, I loved Song to Song, of course, with the Austin aesthetic, very familiar with Austin. And then the Iron Claw is a Dallas-soaked film, so very much enjoyed that, the aesthetic as a whole. And then Lily James and Zac Efron, I think, are great. The whole cast is so great in that. Even like Hope McCallany, Maura Tierney, every single supporting performance. I think it's just one of the great actor showcases we've seen in the 2020s so far, where every performance is so layered and nuanced. And just a tough pill to swallow. It's like, it's almost, people talk about, movies that are so sad being like cry porn. It's like the Iron Claw, they even like made it less sad than the real story, but you can still almost say it's like cry porn. It's like, it's almost a story that's impossible to not make, like not cry porn. Cause like everything that happens is so unbelievably sad and tragic. But the Iron Claw is number 5 for me. Zac Efron snubbed.
True.
He was.
True. I don't love the Iron Claw as much as you guys, but yeah, I get Zac Efron absolutely snubbed on, at the very least, a nomination. My number 5 is Mr. Ari Aster's Hereditary, which again, I'm looking at my top 5. Even number 5 seems too low for Hereditary, but again, still a 5 out of 5. I've said it a million times, and I'll say it a million times more. Toni Collette gives probably, in my mind, the greatest lead actress performance I've ever seen. It is a film so devoid of hope. It is such a depressing experience. Not a minute goes by in this movie where you're like having a good time. And like, I mean that complimentary. Some of just like the most frightening images that made me lose sleep on first watch. One of the few horror movies that just can continuously like impact me and scare me no matter how many times I've seen it. I think some of the scariest movies I've ever seen, The Conjuring, Insidious, they don't hit as hard on rewatch, but Hereditary is sure as shit one of those horror movies that just continues to impact me every single time I watch it. Even beyond Toni Collette, though, Alex Wolff is just bringing his A game. I don't understand how he wasn't cast in absolutely everything after this performance. It is frightening.
I thought it was a film then. I thought you meant absolutely everything in the film. I was really confused.
Yeah, there's just I don't even talk about this film. The decapitation scene, Alex Wolff bashing his head into his desk at school. Like, there's just so many like images in this movie that are just fucking frightening. But that's my number 5, Hereditary. Cam, kick us off with our top 4.
Number 4, it's been mentioned a couple times, and I'm hoping it gets mentioned every time. I have Moonlight, also in 95, just another coming-of-age story. Like I said, I'm always a sucker for a coming-of-age story. We've talked about it a bunch of times. Just seeing it in those 3 sections of a person's life is an interesting look and different from what we've seen, normally. And like George said, I am a bigger fan of La La Land, but I'm not bummed that this has an Oscar win by any means. I really love it, but you guys have mentioned it, and we've talked it plenty on this podcast. Just a fantastic movie.
My 4 is my favorite film from Mr. Eggers, and that would be The Witch. Love The Witch. Did we do a Witch review? I feel like we did. Did we not?
Yeah, we did.
We did.
Yeah, we did.
We did.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Absolutely love The Witch. I think that is, funny enough, I know Robert Eggers is like his worst film. I do think it's his best in terms of kind of creating this masterful piece of folk horror, which I do tend to like probably more than most, and showing kind of Anya Taylor-Joy's character living in this patriarchal society, moving them out, and the relationships with her family, and obviously witchcraft, which we see some incredibly creepy and eerie scenes. This is like the epitome of scary atmospheric horror, which is anxiety inducing without any use of particular jump scares. Then obviously you have so many interesting characters and relationships within the family and how they're assessed throughout the film, and the ending is crazy. And I think this is probably one of my favorite like directorial debuts maybe ever. I would definitely say it is actually. Love The Witch. To be honest, I maybe because like when we just said you have like 5 stars and you don't think about it as much. I think about The Witch a lot, and it's a 4.5. So maybe on another watch it actually goes to 5. I've seen it multiple times now. Yeah, love The Witch. That is my 4th place.
As like for me, it's so hard to rank these A24 films, as I've mentioned several times. But like the way I'm ranking this is literally like which movies do I think about the most? Because like I can't tell you if I think like Hereditary is better or worse than Past Lives. So at the end of the day, it's like which one would I rather watch? Weirdly, probably Hereditary.
Yuck.
Yeah, gross. Tyler, number 4.
Yeah, my number 4 is The Zone of Interest. I think one of the most brilliant examples of sound design we've seen ever, really. Just a captivating, haunting film. Very similar to, I mean, not similar at all, but in terms of how, when George and I were talking, I saw TV Glow, how it's very much like a conversation starter and a conversation piece. Zone of Interest, very much that way as well. I think it's a great film to unpack with other people and discuss further. Really just puts a different perspective on the, something that's been done quite a few times, many times in Hollywood, talking about the Nazis and World War II, but from such a unique perspective that we really haven't seen before from Jonathan Glazer, one of the most unique and creative minds working today. But yeah, The Zone of Interest, we've obviously talked about it at length, of course, as well, because it was obviously an Oscar darling and was released last year. But The Zone of Interest, number 4 for me.
And my number 4, no need to harp on it too long. Tyler and I just spent a good amount of time talking about it. I saw the TV Glow. I will say after first watch, I had it at number 1. After second watch, it remained a 5 out of 5. But again, I think it just comes down to which movies am I most likely to watch again. And one of my initial reactions leaving I Saw the TV Glow was, 1, I don't know if I want to give this movie a 5 out of 5 or a 0.5 out of 5. That's just like how crazy of an experience I had with it. And 2, I was even telling like Victoria this the other day. And of course, like everyone finds different things scary. But I was telling Victoria, like, I'll watch Hereditary a million times and I'll watch it by myself. I don't know if I ever want to see I Saw the TV Glow again. And if I do watch it again, I don't know if I could watch it by myself. So I got it at the number 4 spot. Again, Tyler mentioned it when we were reviewing the movie. On rewatch, it can go up, it can go down. I'm so all over the place with this movie and my feelings towards it and just like what I think about it. But I like where it is right now at its number 4 spot. Cam and Seth, when you guys watch it, obviously I'll be very curious to hear your thoughts. But Cam, number 3.
Yeah, my number 3, again, it's one that's been mentioned, but we'll Uncut Gems, 96 out of 100, something like that for me. Shout out Adam Sandler, his obvious best performance of his career, or I guess Punch Drunk Love people like a lot as well. But
what about Click? You see that?
Dude.
Possibly Click. Maybe Happy Gilmore.
Yeah,
maybe
yeah.
Happy. Yeah, there we go, Seth.
Spaceman.
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 Skinny human.
Jack and Jill when he plays Jill.
Oh,
Adam Sandler, he's one of those guys that like he can do dramatic and he can do it really well, and we've seen it. So just give him more dramatic roles. Why are we getting Happy Gilmore 2? I know it's going to make more money for Netflix than an uncut. Well, I don't know. I don't know. But yeah, it's just kind of frustrating to see this not turn into a like change in Adam Sandler's career. But nonetheless, I think he was snubbed at least for a nomination at the Oscars.
I was about to ask, do you think that's a bigger snub than Zac Efron?
No, I had Zac Efron as my number 1 last year.
Yeah.
Let's see. So I actually did pull it up because it was Joaquin, Antonio Banderas, Leo, Adam Driver, and then Jonathan Pryce. The Two Popes is not that good.
I don't even know what that is.
I probably have it at like 4.5 out of 5. I don't remember it as fondly though. But Jonathan Pryce, I'll say I don't think he should have been nominated. Then also Antonio.
But that was also the year of The Lighthouse, and I think Defoe and Pattinson should have been nominated for both of those roles.
I haven't seen it.
True.
But either way, Uncut Gems is like the most like anxiety I've ever felt in the movie, and I think just for that, like I have to hold it highly just because of how it made me feel. It wanted you to feel anxiety, and I feel like it did a really good job. So
I'm seeing it in IMAX on Wednesday.
Good for you.
You're so lucky.
Enjoy it.
Yeah, I'm so
Crazy.
excited. All right.
I had the two groups at a 4, so I wasn't as
Seth.
bad.
Oh shit!
Number
Yeah. My number 3 is previous Best Picture ReelTok Awards winner, Charlotte Wells' directorial debut. Just saw. Yeah, amazing film. You know, it's funny. I haven't actually watched Aftersun since, which I need to, but this is one that I do think about a lot, like all the time. I think this is, I listen to the score all the time because shit is devastating. It's
Dude,
crazy.
it's so good.
So good.
It's so
really, really
sad.
sad.
So
it brings up
good.
these weird like feelings to me. I can't really explain. It's so deeply emotional whenever I listen to it. I think this is just a phenomenally crafted look at grief, heartbreak, depression, memories, and the way we remember them. Kind of that father-daughter bond as well. And it's where Paul Mescal, obviously, kind of I guess Normal People was probably his breakthrough, but his film breakthrough kind of different because he got a nomination for this, didn't he? Yeah. So
yeah. Like he blew up after Normal People, but I think the Oscar nomination
in the film world,
put him on the map
especially
for
the
like
Oscar.
more casual audience members.
Yeah, definitely.
I don't think Normal People is like a very accessible show.
I want to watch it actually because apparently it's amazing.
Very good.
I don't think I know a single normal person who's seen Normal People.
Yeah.
Is K Meeks not normal?
No.
Actually, no.
No.
Love you, K Meeks.
K Meeks. Yeah, I think it's just layered with love. It's clearly just come from a very deep place, and I think Charlotte Wells one film, and it's just put me on such a radar where I'm really excited to see what sort of project she's going to tackle next. I think this is phenomenally impressive. 5-star for me. Yeah, amazing film. One of my favorite films of probably in my top 5 of the decade so far. So all the praise in the world. I think it's incredible.
Number 3 for me is Hereditary. Absolutely loved it.
Wow.
Did we review that on the podcast or am
I don't think so. I think you just watched it for Halloween, maybe.
Oh yeah, it could be
for Halloween. Yeah. I'm pretty sure like last year. I don't know, 2022 maybe actually.
Dude,
but maybe
why did I not know that?
Maybe we'll cover. Well, I know we'll probably do an Eggers episode ahead of Nosferatu, and then maybe whenever I can't remember what the name of it is. His Western Eddington. When that comes out, we'll do like an after episode. But that's further down the line than Eggers' next film will be, and then Peele. They're all kind of coming around the same time. But Hereditary, incredible, scary, thrilling. Toni Collette, brilliant in everything she's in, and she has such a crazy range, and she puts it on full display here. And then, like you said, is it Alex Wolff is the one?
Yeah.
Not Nat. Okay, I get the two Naked Brothers bands members mixed up all the time. But Alex Wolff, and then obviously, you get so many iconic moments in that, the telephone pole, et cetera, et cetera. A lot of imagery, cult, horror. But yeah, I had a great time with it. Terrifying film. I thought Toni Collette was my ceiling fan for like 3 weeks afterwards and was waking up in the middle of the night terrified. Yeah, and freaking, I have a massive ceiling fan in my bedroom that we never turn on. I woke up several nights being like, "What the fuck, Tony? Get out of here!"
That'd be crazy if you woke up to Toni Collette on your ceiling fan.
I'd scream and then I'd be like, "You want to come on ReelTok episode 89?" Get you on a little interview. But yeah, I love Hereditary. I think I think I'm for sure the biggest Ari Aster fan, the biggest asshead on this podcast. Big fan of Ari Aster, and it's my favorite one from him. So
What did you just say?
I love your little thing.
Assheads. Come on, man.
Yeah, he's
Assheads
like
unite.
Cronehead. Asshead.
Yeah.
It's
Asshead.
So fucking funny. Hereditary was also being released in IMAX, and I was like too late to buy tickets, and by that time it was
did
all
it sell
sold
out
out,
instantly?
except for row A. And I literally said, I was like, "There's no way I'm sitting in row A to watch this girl get decapitated." Like, I don't.
Row A is terrible as well.
Yeah, I was like, I can't do it that close, so I didn't.
Not
get
according to
tickets.
Sophie. Sophie loves row A.
Yeah, that's fucking.
A
Yeah.
and B. She said she won't see a movie unless it's A or B.
That's
Yeah,
fucking
real
crazy.
I can't even tell if you're joking right now. That's crazy. What?
No, that was in the group chat like a couple weeks ago, and we had a.
Oh, was that Sophie who put row A? Because I said,
Yeah.
oh, wow.
Yeah. When she buys our tickets, we are quite close.
That's
Um,
I'm the farthest back. Always.
I'm middle.
I mean,
Middle.
Row D is prime.
D's fine. D's fine.
It's not
fine.
like you
A
can't
or
hear
B?
it far back. It's not like the audio.
Yeah, I want to be close. I want to be
Farther
close.
back.
I
See
want
it all.
to turn my head to see.
I
things.
don't want to ever turn my head. I never want to
No,
turn my head.
I want to.
No,
Like when I was
that's
watching
awful.
Dune, I was literally like, the screen was so big.
That's-
I did
like,
that with Oppenheimer. I did that with Oppenheimer. It's
That's
fucking weird.
horrible.
Yeah.
That's horrible.
I just looking side by side. and shit.
All right, my me. Tyler just did number 3 with Hereditary. All right, my number 3. I think Seth said this was Greta Gerwig's best, and I do agree. Lady Bird is my number 3.
Nice.
Just again, I think Cam said this, coming of age, one of, my favorite genres, one of Cam's favorite genres, and Lady Bird, I think, is just near the top of my coming of age ranking. I really love this movie. It's another movie that I think just kind of teaches you a lot of family values, a lot of friendship values. It teaches you to cherish every relationship, no matter how small or large. Anything can kind of provide meaning in your life. I think it's a really adorable film. I think it really nails that high school into college kind of time frame where you're like uncertain about where you want to go, what you want to do in your life. And I really like this movie. Saoirse Ronan is just phenomenal. She'll get her flowers one day. I have no doubt about that. She'll get that Oscar. I think this is her best performance to date. Really, really like this movie. Just another one of those movies that I'm just constantly thinking about, and those movies that I just constantly want to rewatch. So yeah, Lady Bird is my number 3. We'll go around and we'll just do our 2 and 1 at the exact same time. Cam, I'm like 90% sure our top 2 are the exact same.
They probably are, possibly.
I only know one of Cam's. I can't think of the other.
My number 2, crazy enough, I just changed it like this morning when I was looking at my list prior to pod. Number 2 is Everything Everywhere All at Once, and my number 1 is After Sun. So for a long while, my number 1 was Everything Everywhere All at Once. My number 2 was After Sun. And I think this, like Seth mentioned, After Sun's a movie I haven't seen a bunch, and I've just thought about it a lot. Whereas Everything Everywhere All at Once, I've seen like 4 times, and I like. Do you guys get like Infinity War? I can't watch all the time right now just because I mean George doesn't, because he's seen movies like 15 times and just watches them once a day for a week. But like I've seen Infinity War too much to where like I don't watch it a ton now, and I feel like Everything Everywhere All at Once is another movie where I've seen it 4 or 5 times. And so now I just like, all right, I won't go back to that for a good long while. And there are movies that I definitely think I can watch a ton, but I run. It's kind of like music for me. Like I'll listen to a song,
I'll rinse it
times, and I'll rinse it too much.
And
that's how a lot of like older Marvel movies have become for me. And by older, I mean like up until like Endgame, basically.
What a sad thing to hear from Cameron.
I know. No, I still love them. I can't go back to them as frequently. I'm probably going to do that with Across the Spider-Verse here shortly. I've definitely done it with Into the Spider-Verse, and The Dark Knight. Like I love them dearly. And Empire. I've watched them a bunch in my life. So I don't know. Maybe that's the opposite of how people feel. But Everything Everywhere All at Once, I kind of been thinking about it. I'm like, I think I like After Sun more, but I haven't seen After Sun as much. So if I watched it, 5 times, would I feel the same? I don't know, but I can watch like clips of it online all day long and just cry a little bit inside. But yeah, those are my top 2, both 98 out of 100. So it doesn't really matter. Splitting hairs.
We'll go out of order real quick just because I'll piggyback off of Cam's. Same exact top 2. Everything Everywhere is my number 2. After Sun is my number 1. I've been saying this entire podcast, you could rearrange my top 10 in any order and like I'll be okay. But I do think like for me, After Sun and Everything Everywhere are like solidified as my top 2. I really like these movies. Everything Everywhere is just such a fun and emotional, levitating experience. Not enough could be said about Michelle Yeoh. Even not enough more can be said about Stephanie Sue. I think they're both phenomenal. I can rewatch. What?
Snubbed.
For sure.
Carrie Condon.
That's fine. As long as
that's fine.
As long as we agree it's not Jamie.
Yeah.
Not Jamie. But yeah, I could replay like that final conversation they have in the parking lot a million times and cry every single time. I watched an edit of that conversation and they put Visions of Gideon, the final song from Call Me by Your Name, over it. Horrendously emotional video. I didn't like that at all. And then After Sun, I don't see a world where this isn't my number 1. I think this is one of the most emotionally demanding films out there. It's such a heartbreaking look at the experiences of someone who's hiding their mental health to protect their daughter. It's such a just really sad look at Sophie and how her experiences. She's a little naive to what her father is going through, and Callum, played by Paul Mescal, brilliantly, is trying to protect Sophie, doesn't want her to understand what he's truly going through. It's also just a really insane and just, I don't know, sad. I'll use the same word again. Look at memory. Sophie's just trying to piece together anything and everything she remembers from her father, but she's kind of just left with VHS tapes and a couple of foggy memories. The rave imagery is just some of my favorite imagery in film. It's such a insane way of telling. It's such an insane way for Charlotte Wells to tell her audience, like, yeah, the rave is basically Sophie's memory, and it's choppy. It's all over the place. She's not sure what she remembers. She's trying to piece everything together. After Sun's my number one. I think that's a crazy movie. We talk about Stephanie Sue being snubbed that year. Paul Mescal is just, every time I watch this movie, I think more highly of his performance. This was the year of Colin Farrell and Banshees. This was the year of Elvis, Austin Butler's Elvis. And I still think Paul Mescal was just head and shoulders above both of those performances. And that's not a knock to those performances because they are fantastic. That's more of a praise to how good I think Paul Mescal is in this movie. Seth, your top two.
Yeah, my two is Zone of Interest. Obviously, I am very, very high on this. I've seen it twice now. I think it's one of the most complex looks at one of the most devastating periods in human history. I think it's such incredibly well handled and something we haven't seen before. About a topic that we've seen many times, but not in a way like this. Like Jonathan Glazer, I think is such a visionary and using no storyline, no real pattern, a reluctance to follow a conventional story, and I think it hits every emotional beat, and it's just truly devastating. In my opinion, one of the most important films of the century. And then my number one, a film I speak about constantly, First Reformed, which is kind of no surprise. I like religious films and shit, if you don't noticed already. I think First Reformed is fucking genius. I think it's one of the best scripts maybe ever written. I think it's incredibly layered when it comes to environmental issues, intimacy, and then, of course, religion, the church, stuff like that. I think Ethan Hawke just gives one of my favorite performances ever. And Amanda Seyfried as well is absolutely fantastic. I think it's wonderfully structured. It's so complex. You can watch it a million times and grasp so much more. That is my number one. It's been my number one for a while as well, but they're probably quite close together, both of them.
I would have liked to rewatch that. There were a lot of movies I would wanted to rewatch, but just didn't get around to. Yeah, First Reform is definitely something I need to rewatch. Another one like Good Time, where like I haven't seen it since its release. So like whenever I rewatch First Reformed, I will say it's a first watch. Mm-hmm. Tyler, top two.
Yep. Yeah, I need to. I First Reformed was the top of my list of movies I wanted to watch that I wasn't able to. So I bet that has a strong chance of being in my top 10. But my number two moved way up. Moonlight, incredible. It's rare when you can get three different actors to play one person in Chiron and all do such a brilliant job.
Yeah, it's crazy.
And Mahershala Ali is so great as well. And the entire cast is great. Devastating film. Barry Jenkins. Hopefully, Mufasa is fine and you kind of continue on to fun stuff, but one for you, one for me, whatever. It's fine. Mufasa, I'll support you for it. Don't worry. But Moonlight, great film. Had it at a 4-star. I think I had it at like a 4.5 and then moved it down to a 4. In the classic, like hadn't seen it in 2 years, hadn't been thinking about it, moved it down, then rewatched it. Very happy I did. I knew I wanted to going into this week. Like I put on my list like 15 A24 films I wanted to watch, 14 of them being first watches, and then Moonlight was the one I was like, this is the only one I need to rewatch because I think this one has a chance of moving because it's been like 2.5 years since I saw it for the first and only time. So definitely was overdue. And then number one, After Sun. You guys have all mentioned it. Devastating film, completely changes that song at the end, which is escaping my name right now. Brain's foggy right now, but
yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah, completely changes that forever. Anytime you hear that, just immediately get soaked in devastation. Paul Mescal, can't say enough good things about it, but Frankie Corio also brilliant work. And like Seth mentioned, I think just very excited to see what Charlotte Wells does next. But that's my number one. and I kind of want to watch it tonight again. So we'll see if I want to put myself through
Watch
that.
First Reformed.
True. Yeah, I will actually watch. I'm planning on watching that today, but might watch both because First Reformed is a little under 2 hours, and After Sun I think
Yeah, like
only like an hour and a half. But maybe After Sun's barely an hour and a half. So
Yeah.
both shorter films. But yeah, that's my 2 and 1. Wait,
this whole
I
conversation.
know we're not doing the ranking anymore, but we should do just quickly run through our bottom 5 because I think.
My
Well,
bottom
let's-
is crazy actually.
Let's recap our top 10 real quick.
Yeah,
We
yeah.
have wildly different lists. Cam, what was your top 10?
Top 10, The Iron Claw, The Florida Project at 9, The Last Black Man in San Francisco 8, Eighth Grade at 7, Lady Bird 6, top 5, number 5, Minari, number 4, Moonlight, number 3, Uncut Gems, number 2, Everything Everywhere All at Once, and number 1, After Sun. Do you want me to do my top 5 as well, or wait? Or bottom 5?
We'll wait. Seth.
10, Killing of a Sacred Deer. 9, Uncut Gems. 8, Ladybird. 7, Hereditary. 6, The Lighthouse. 5, Moonlight. 4, The Witch. 3, After Sun. 2, The Zone of Interest. And 1, First Reformed.
Mr. Tyler C. Whitmore.
Yep. Number 10, I got A Ghost Story. 9, Everything Everywhere All at Once. 8, Uncut Gems. 7, Problemista. 6, The Last Black Man in San Francisco. 5, The Iron Claw. 4, The Zone of Interest. 3, Hereditary. 2, Moonlight. And 1, After Sun.
And then my top 10, Uncut Gems, The Green Knight, Moonlight, Past Lives, A Ghost Story, and then top 5, Hereditary, I Saw the TV Glow, Lady Bird, Everything Everywhere All at Once, and After Sun. All right, let's do our let's shit on some movies. Let's go to my.
There's not that many to shit on from me.
There's not that many. Let's see.
Well, for me anyway. Like I haven't got that many low rated out of 58, to be honest.
Yeah, like a lot of them I don't have rated, but my low, they're not even that low. Like my bottom 5 rated. So right now my lowest rated A24 film is Men at a 2 out of 5. I have Tusk at a 2 out of 5. I don't know why I have that movie rated. I haven't seen it in forever.
Tusk.
Tyler, I think you liked. Did you like Saint Maud or have you not? Did one of you guys watch Saint Maud? Maybe it wasn't one of you guys.
I think it's. That was okay. I didn't love it, but I think it was.
Yeah, I didn't love it, but like it's still at a 2.5 out of 5, so it's not like an offensively bad movie. Tyler, I know you like Beau is Afraid a lot, but it is in my bottom 5, but still a 3 out of 5, so it's not even that bad of a ranking. And then Darren Aronofsky's debut, Pi, again 3 out of 5. So like I don't think it's a bad movie. I just removed my ratings on a lot of the movies that I just haven't seen in a while.
Yeah, that's fair.
All right. My bottom 5. Last one is Spring Breakers.
No.
1 out of 5. It's a bad movie, man.
It's good. Spring Break is good.
Good movie. 3.5 out of 5.
When did you last watch it, Cal?
Oh, a while ago.
Try
Spring
again.
Breakers. I watched it a while ago, and it was also like it was 2012. And so I was like 13-ish. So I was.
How are you putting a rating on? Did you watch?
No. I watched it after that.
Oh, okay,
I didn't see it when I was 13.
Okay.
I was amped though because it was like Selena Gomez in a bikini. This is like my Super Bowl as 13-year-old Cam. And then when I eventually did watch it, I was severely disappointed. Bad movie. Tyler, keep the booze coming. 31, Beau is Afraid, 1.5 out of 5. Bad movie.
No booze. I just know people aren't bowling.
Yeah, Cam, I think your mic's gone off.
All right. Am I back?
Yeah.
Okay, I might have been like far away from it. Beau is Afraid, 31. 30, Men. Just bad. We've talked it already. 29's X and 28. So my bottom 5th is Causeway.
Wait, what do you rate X?
Like a 3.5.
Oh, okay.
I mean, Cam's. Remember, we all reviewed like 58, A24.
Yeah.
Cam's was like 30, I think. So
I hear
Men is 2 out of 5. Beau's Afraid 1.5, and Spring Breakers a 1, and then the next closest is a 3.5 out of 5. Okay. But I don't know. X and Pearl might be a little high. Those are what's
A24's like official number of films that they've distributed?
It's 200 something.
It's a lot now.
It's like 220.
It's not that A24 is not that niche anymore. They put out
it's like 220 something. I'm pretty
20
sure.
movies a year now.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
All right, bottom 5. I have like quite a few on 2.5. George. Close Your Ears.
Oh,
Green Knight. Although I will say, I've spoken to you about this before. I do think I need to. I've not seen it in 2 years, and I think I'll like it a lot. I don't understand why I didn't like that. You know, that's like a me film. I don't get it.
It is a very you film. Have you ever just considered that you're just wrong?
Great. My other one is, I think Pearl is down there for me. Didn't really like Pearl. I know a few of you guys did. I was one that preferred X, to be honest.
Yeah,
Me too.
I
like Pearl, but definitely prefer X.
Fair.
I like Pearl more than X.
I think most people do, to be honest. Okay, bottom 5. Okay. I'm going to say there's a film called Skin. No one's heard of it. No one's seen it. 2.5, whatever. Hole in the Ground, which was directed by the guy who did Evil Dead Rise, George Lee Cronin, the Irish filmmaker. Not very good. I didn't really like it. That's a 2. I know people love this, whatever. The Whale, 1.5. Men, 1.5, and then a film with Pierce Brosnan called False Positive, which was shit, 1.5. That's probably my bottom 5, I would say.
So False Positive was the bottom one, the very lowest?
Probably. Yeah, probably.
Yeah. I like going that way better. Starting at the 5th worst, going down to the very worst. Didn't like the way Cam and George reversed it.
All right, pardon me.
My 5th worst is Justice Smith starring in Sharper alongside Julianne Moore. I think Josiah Coops really likes that movie from last year. But I don't really know why. I thought it was not good. Sharper's
fuck Josiah Coops.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Fraud alert. 4th worst movie is Alex Garland's Civil War. We talked about that for 2 hours, so don't really need to go into that one. 3rd worst movie, Men. Alex Garland back-to-back double feature. Those, it's scary how close those are to maybe moving Men above Civil War if I were to ever rewatch it. But I'm never rewatching either of those movies, so probably forever Men will stay right below Civil War. Hot take alert: 57 out of 58 for me. Second to worst A24 film that I've seen, The Tragedy of Macbeth.
No,
in that movie.
No,
that kind of 3.5, but it's my bottom 7. So
that movie is like the visual version.
I really liked it.
I hated it.
I really liked it.
Yeah.
What did you rate that one, Tyler?
1.5 stars.
Okay.
Generously.
I think I put like 4, honestly. I really liked it.
There's people that like it. It's a 3.8 on average in Letterboxd.
Is it that high?
Yeah,
fair enough.
Yeah. But the Coen brothers separately stink, as we saw with Drive Away Dolls again this year.
Yeah, we won't get any arguments on that one.
And then the worst film of A24 is The Sky is Everywhere, which like probably barely anyone's seen, but it's 2.7 on average in Letterboxd. I give it a 1.5 star. Poopy movie. I think it was like a A20. Well, A24 has a lot of these movies where it's like A24 and Apple TV. Like
that was Sharper, wasn't it?
Sharper also was, and Skies Everywhere I think is another one.
Yeah,
and then, like I said, Steph Curry documentary is another one. So I think A24 and Apple is some sort of odd deal, but yeah, Skies Everywhere is last for me.
All right. That wraps up our little A24 segment. Jump into trailers and news. We got a couple of things. Trailers wise, I don't even know why I'm mentioning this because I know no one gives a shit. Rings of Power season 2.
Hey, I don't care.
Seth, even you don't care.
I don't care. I might watch it, but
we don't.
I'll probably watch it, but like season 1 was the most forgettable season of television I've seen.
I thought it was like good, and then I've not thought about it like once. I thought it was all right.
Yeah. And then like you have like House of the Dragon coming out, which like same kind of like vibe, and one of them is just wildly better.
Unfortunately, so yes.
Dune Prophecy, which is a new fun little HBO. What did you say?
I don't care
about Dune Prophecy.
Yeah, I don't care.
No, Danny, I don't care.
It's based off the Son's books, though, isn't it? And they're meant to be really
based
hard.
Off of his son's books, which apparently a lot of people not like.
Who is doing Dune Prophecy, by the way?
I don't know. I didn't even see. I tweeted saying like no Denis concerns me, and then a couple of people replied like he's an executive producer. I have not seen his name on any producer list for this TV.
I don't even know much about this show at all. I have no idea.
All I know is that the only stuff I know about the show comes straight from the trailer, which is it takes place I think 1,000 years before Paul is born.
Yeah. I'm pretty
About
sure. And it is Max as well, which is usually like a good sign, to
It's
be
good,
fair.
yeah, which is
Yeah.
something to be excited about.
George, the show writer for the co-showrunner and the pilot writer is Diane Adamu John, who did The Haunting of Bly Manor. So there's something for you.
that's
I'm not a
interesting.
Haunting of Bly Manor.
I like
fan,
that
though.
show.
And then Allison Shapeker from Westworld. Westworld is the
Westworld's meant to be great. I haven't seen it. It's
main
meant to be really, really good.
Yeah, I haven't seen it. I've heard good things. But maybe that makes some more joy, but also like no Danny, who cares?
Yeah, real. Okay. And then the obvious massive trailer that came out this week was Francis Ford Coppola's Megalopolis, which had its premiere at Cannes. Some of the most
polarizing
on the smallest screen possible.
Oh my god! By the way, that is fucking insane. There,
I'd freak out if I.
Well, you've been to New York. I've been to London. We're big screens.
Huge screen at the New York Film Festival. Massive screen, like a good size screen. But anyway,
the way art was made to be watched, like behind a speaker on a 20-inch screen.
Maybe they needed space for when the guy comes on screen and starts speaking to.
That's fucking insane.
I saw so many memes where it's like the underpaid theater worker doing it for the 13th time of the day and shit like that.
No, but it looked like all the screens at Cannes were short. It's like Cannes Film Festival, Napoleon Bonaparte, handshake, shorter than expected.
Yeah.
But early reactions to Megalopolis have been obviously incredibly polarizing. I'm seeing half stars, I'm seeing 1 stars, I'm seeing 4.5, 5 stars. I'm seeing people not even rate the movie and just saying, I don't know how to even react to something like this. Which, again, I think for us, this much polarization is like good news. Like I'm gonna be honest, I don't think I'm gonna enjoy this movie, but these types of reviews do make me like a little more excited, because like now I'm excited just to see where I fall on the Megalopolis spectrum. They're all over the place. But early reactions for Megalopolis are obviously coming at the same time as Furiosa, and Furiosa is getting some insane praise. I'm seeing better than Mad Max Fury Road. I'm seeing George Miller at his absolute best, which obviously is a crazy thing to say when you have such a prolific career as George Miller. I'm very excited for Furiosa. Obviously, it comes out next week. I think I told you this. I'm not gonna be on the pod next week, so I'm really pissed off about
that's kind of devastating, to be fair.
It's really annoying. Victoria and I are taking a trip to go see my sister in Charleston. I'm going to bring my stuff with me, because on the off chance that like we don't have anything planned that morning, whenever you guys record on Saturday or Sunday, I'll join maybe just for the Furiosa bit and then dip. But as of right now, it's going to be a no, which really fucking sucks, because obviously I want to talk Furiosa.
It's Friday, isn't it? Yeah. No, Saturday. No, Friday.
I'm seeing it Thursday night.
Oh yeah, well Thursday for you guys. I'm seeing it. So they're like, I'm going to London on this weekend, obviously for Comic-Con, and they're all obviously wanting to see it, like those of the UK people, and they were like, "Oh, let's just go and see it this like standard cinema 8:30." I'm like, "Fuck that!" So I'm going on my own in the morning to see it at the BFI IMAX, which is like the biggest screen in Europe.
Yeah,
I'm fucking so excited, man. Like the closer it's got to Fury, I think this trailer and Dune 2 trailer are like my most watched trailers ever, and I never usually watch trailers, but I've watched the Furious trailer a lot, a lot.
Second Dune trailer, I probably watched a million times.
If you're watching a trailer a lot, then you're fucking excited for a film.
I will say the second Endgame trailer would probably be my most watched trailer. I watched that trailer about 6 times.
I've watched that trailer like since.
That trailer goes so hard. That's a draft we should do, our favorite trailers, or like
I think people have asked us to do that before too. So yeah, eventually we got to do one of those.
True. All right, couple bit of movie news and some TV news. Nothing insane. Roadhouse 2. Why not? That's literally the only explanation I can think.
Was there any news about like is Doug Liman returning? Because you'd think with like how like chaotic the rollout was, where they were like so mad it wasn't getting a theatrical release, and the whole like budget dispute, like it sounded like a production that they wouldn't want to return to. But I don't know, weird.
I don't know. I don't know. Maybe it was like wildly successful when it got released on Prime in terms of like how many people
It
tuned
definitely
in.
was.
it
I
did
think it might
number-
have been the most watched.
Like yeah, like my only
Yeah, it did
explanation is they saw how successful it was on its release on Prime, and they were like, okay, let's make a second and like actually theatrically release this one so we can make a bunch of money.
Mhm.
That's the
Yeah,
only
it could be,
explanation
honestly.
I can think of. Because obviously, like critically and audience score wise, not the best. Some cool news out of the John Wick franchise that I really like. We're getting a Donnie Yen spinoff with his character of Kane.
Donnie Yen's fucking cool.
Donnie Yen's great.
Wait,
Yeah.
Donnie Yen's great. Love Kane. I think everyone's immediate reaction out of John Wick 4 was let's have a spinoff with Donnie Yen's daughter in the movie.
Well, I thought they
Word?
teased the spinoff with her.
That's what I thought. Yeah, because she wants to go kill the guy. Spoilers for John Wick 4 that killed Donnie Yen's character.
Yeah.
So like that would have been a cool spinoff. But now I'm equally as excited for a little prequel for Donnie Yen's Kane. Cool ass character. Peter Jackson says the Hunt for Gollum movie will explore Gollum's backstory. And we are getting the original writers back that wrote the original Lord of the Rings trilogy, which is I don't know how to feel about this. Like good news getting those writers back. It's more so like I don't know if I have that much of an emotional attachment to Gollum where like I care enough about this news. Seth, obviously interested in hearing your thoughts.
It's interesting because there was I don't know if you guys probably saw this as well. There was a fan film that was made on the Hunt for Gollum, which
and it
Warner
got
Brothers
removed.
striked, and they were like, "Oh, that was a mistake." No, it fucking.
Oh, fuck off!
Great.
Yeah,
That's absurd. To
gotta
strike a
be
fan from 2009. That's like
Yeah.
13 million views.
Dumb are people these days that they're like, we're gonna strike this and hope nobody notices. Like the internet is so fucking like
Yeah, it's crazy.
so easy, man, to find stuff. Like you got to be an idiot to think that's not gonna get backlash.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I'm interested in it. I think that Gollum as a character has kind of been, we know his backstory from the film, especially in the extended editions. And I think if you've read the books, it's there's a lot more into it. It's a difficult one because I don't know. A lot of it, I think, revolves around Aragorn. And obviously, I don't think Aragorn's character will come back, and if he does, it won't be Viggo Mortensen because he'll be just too old for it now, realistically. I think that it's going to be a difficult one. I think it's good that Andy Serkis is coming back because if they said that someone else is playing Gollum, crazy. Although it's not, I don't know about Andy Serkis directing the film. I think that's a choice for sure. Now, correct me if I'm wrong. I think he directed the second Venom, which I haven't seen.
Bad.
Which I don't think is well. There you go. I don't think he's like too.
He also did. He did the Netflix Mowgli, which was like a darker,
good movie. Don't talk shit. No, it's not good, but it's not bad.
I haven't seen it.
It looks good. He's good with mocap, but like those are not. I don't know, bad.
Even if like he hadn't done, it's just a big task. I think in this universe to get someone who's a very, not a very experienced filmmaker. Someone who's passionate about the projects for sure, and I think it's good to see they got some of the writers back on. But I think it's also it's going to be a risk, and I think it could end up being similar to the Hobbit films, I think that might be the issue we face. But I'm still obviously very excited for it. I think it's just big news.
Is the Tolkien estate gonna hate this one as well?
Yes, absolutely. Hate everything. They're gonna hate everything that ever comes out of Lord of the Rings.
Good. That means it's good. I thought they liked the Rings of Power.
Did they?
That would be them to like the Rings of Power.
Like the Rings of Power.
I thought they did. Maybe.
I don't know because Rings of Power is a little bit different. But yeah, I mean, I'm excited for it, but it's a very cautious excitement. Not exactly too optimistic about it anyway.
Yeah.
All right, and last bit of news, we got a couple of first look images from the new Netflix anime Terminator series. I don't know a whole bunch about the series. The first images are giving Love, Death, and Robots. What's that episode? Sunny's Edge vibes, which that's probably my favorite Love, Death, and Robots episode. So that style of animation is really cool for me. Again, I don't know a whole bunch about this. I don't know where it takes place in the Terminator universe, or if it's literally just a reimagining of the original Terminator, just in anime form. But I mean, love Terminator 1, love Terminator 2, so it's hard not to be excited for this. But all right, that kind of wraps up our episode. We got a lot of good stuff coming this week. We're doing a Q&A episode on Wednesday. Our patron exclusive Real Quick this week is David Lynch's Mulholland Drive. So if you haven't taken a look at our patron, go take a look at our tiers. We got a lot of awesome perks, a lot of fun bonus stuff. Discord is always lively and active and very animated. Cam teased it earlier, but pay attention to Tuesday. We might have a nice little special episode with a couple of special guests coming to talk about X-Men 97. Shout out our executive producers once again: Stefan Johnson, Stefan Niebrick, and Sean Morales. Shout out all of our producers. Shout out all of our patrons. Shout out just anyone that takes time to listen to us. Anyone that takes time to click that like button and comment, even if it's hate. We appreciate your engagement. But that'll wrap up Real Talk episode 88, and we will see you guys tomorrow.